Hello, and welcome to Movies You Missed. This is your host, Jace Cudlin, and we are in the middle of. The cadence was weird of me saying that. Uh, our Halloween specials. Okay, we are covering the Thorn Trilogy of the Halloween movies. That is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. And Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Okay? We're doing those three movies. Released in 1988, 1989, and 1995. Respectively. With respect, but respectively. Yeah, and we're doing this in honor of, the Halloween month, the spooky month that is October. I'm recording these and releasing them all the way up until October 31st, All Hallows Eve. And this is the greatest time of year. We're all watching scary movies. I've been doing it, like I said. First of all, I won't lie to you, I do it all year round. I watch horror movies, like every week, at least, just all the time, consistently throughout the year. Doesn't matter what season. But I really crank that shit sky high when it becomes like fall. Like when the air gets a cool nip to it, and the leaves start turning, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my god, it's like 30 degrees outside. But then by later it's like 60, which is annoying. But like, when summer is finally over, at the end of August, you're like, okay, it's fall now. Let's get into it. And I wanted to make, like I said last time, like a 31 days of Halloween type beat ABC Family kind of marathon. But then it spiraled out of control and became over 100 movies. So I've just been watching those. And I thought, what would I do for these? What would I want to do for these Halloween specials? I want to do something for Halloween. And maybe I do like one for every week in October. But what would I want to do, I would want to, I wanted to center it around one specific theme. I talked about doing maybe, I'll do like a special where, it had to be horror movies, of course. Had to be horror movies, of some variety. So I was like, maybe I'll do like a focus on a specific director and like, like unpopular or like deep tracks that they made. Like I consider doing Wes Craven or, sorry I burped, John Carpenter or like Tobe Hooper, or I consider doing like perhaps like made for TV movies, like your Bad Ronalds or Psycho 4, Or I was like, maybe I'll do like Stephen King miniseries, or maybe I'll just do like a Stephen King thing. There's so many like various like interlinking like themes you could have done, I could have done slashers, could have done like paranormal, demonic possession, ghost stories, sci-fi horror, monsters. And I would like to do a season about. I definitely would like to do a season about like definitely just like movies where like about monster attacks and like creatures. That would be very cool. I think I can make a season that would be like 40 episodes because I just like I have a special specific kind of love for movies about creatures attacking people, whether it's alligators or sharks or super sharks or big bugs, But I ended up deciding to do because it's like the month of Halloween. Halloween 1978 is like one of the best horror movies. It's like probably the best, most famous horror movie of all time. It's so spectacular. We all watch it a million times a year. Could never cover it on this show because it's amazing and people are fully aware of how amazing it is and the prestige that it carries. But, we did Halloween 2 on this podcast. And it would kind of, I guess, just make logical sense. So, if we're going to do a Halloween movie, if we're going to do a scary movie, we might as well just keep it going with the Halloween theme. And I thought there's no better. I would love to do Halloween Resurrection on this podcast. Maybe even Halloween Ends, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Like I said, we already did Halloween 2. But, I think... And, let's be real. These movies are all, cult movies, and they have their dedicated fan bases, of course. But I think, by and large, so many of these Halloween movies are, hated and, written off by, society at large. So realistically, so many of them would be perfect to do. And I think, I guess I thought, and you obviously know this now, that Halloween 4, 5, and 6 make a really nice little trilogy within Halloween that would just be perfect to do. And I was going to watch these movies anyway, because you can't go through October without watching them, I think I watched all the Halloween movies all the way through last year on Halloween. And then I literally did it in the summer again, and I'm doing it now again, of course. So we covered Halloween 4 in a previous installment, and that was very fun. I think of the Thorn movies, that's definitely the best one, and my personal favorite. Ranks very highly in my top Halloween movies. And okay, so funny enough, I love Halloween 4. Like I said, I really love Halloween 6. Halloween 5 is a little kind of a different story, I must say. I've went through periods of my life where I really liked Halloween 5 because of its associations with Halloween 4. Like when I was a kid, and especially Halloween 4, 5, and 6, AMC during their Fear Fest marathon series that they do, they play Halloween 4, 5, and 6 a million times. They play them all the time. So I've seen Halloween 4, 5, and 6 probably more than I've seen any Halloween movie. I've seen them countless times. I would watch them every year, multiple times when I was a kid. Even maybe as recently as 5 years ago, before we got rid of cable at the house, I would watch them. They'd be like, "All right, Halloween 4, 5, and 6 coming on tonight." I'd be like, "All right, everyone, shut up. I'm going to watch Jamie Lloyd get hunted by Michael Myers." Because there's something, I don't know. I guess even as a kid, you can kind of recognize that these movies are totally batshit crazy and more fun than necessarily tense or scary. Whereas when I was a kid, I wouldn't watch Halloween 1 or 2 or even Halloween 1 and 2 I wouldn't watch as much because they were actually scary. But these movies are not that scary. They're actually they're super well lit and stuff, and they just have this cozy Salt Lake City vibe where I'm just I don't really think anything, even when bad stuff is happening on screen, it's done in such a way where I'm I'm not scared necessarily what's going on. And again, I think that might be just, I see that now as kind of they're flawed, but when I was a kid, that made them really, really rewatchable, and especially because you're tracking the story of a child, so it's almost more relatable somehow. And that I think also factors in the rule that was in my head when I was a kid, where I was yeah, these kind of people don't murder kids, so this girl's never really gonna die, so this movie is fine and safe. Whereas if I watch a movie about adults killing other adults, I'm yeah, adults die all the time, kids almost never die. But even though, of course, that's not the reality in real life, but that's sometimes kids, think that to themselves to try to make themselves feel better. Anyway, that was a long tangent there. But the Halloween 5, polarizing. When I was a kid, really, really, really enjoyed it. And only up until recently did I kind of, maybe within the last 2 years, I was just this movie's not good. That movie is straight up bad. In my Halloween rankings, which I will talk about later, you will see that this, out of all the Halloween movies, even though I have like a special specific love for all of them, and there are definitely parts of every one of these movies that I adore, this one kind of falls a little flat for me. And and that's the thing. I couldn't really cover 4 and 6 without just why not cover 5 if you're going to cover those two? So I mean, and believe me, I think there's been a resurgence for me recently, because I think a year ago, around a year ago, when I watched these movies around Halloween last year, I was like, oh, Halloween 5, straight up dog shit. This movie is terrible. And I don't plan on really watching it too many times ever again. I had bought a copy of it on VHS for the steep price of like $19, and I was just like, I might even actually sell this. Is this even worth having? Is like literally, I wanted to collect all of them on VHS, but like, is it worth it to even own this? Because it's pure garbage. No, I had no love for this movie. But then when I watched it, 3-4 months ago over the summer, I said, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I just have to be in the mood for it. And I think it also helped that I read an interview with the director of this movie, Dominique Othenin-Girard, French-Swiss director, who helmed this movie that we will be discussing. I read an interview with him in the Taking Shape book by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins, which I if you remember, I referenced a lot in our Halloween 2 episode, and I'm definitely going to, and like last episode, and I'm definitely going to reference it a lot in this one. Because, this interview, it's literally like 12 pages long. It's one of the longest interviews I've ever read, the longest interview in the book, I think. But it's like, it's actually really insightful. And I think seeing it through his eyes and like him explaining why he chose to do certain things kind of did make me come around on it a little bit. So I will, I won't like read the whole interview, of course, because I would prefer it if you guys bought the book and supported these writers. Because they really did like a great thing here. I really love this book so much. I've read it. I think I've owned it since Christmas. Not really even that long, and I've read it twice already. So, but yeah, I'll read some excerpts from it just because I think they're very interesting. But yeah, the Halloween 5 mixed bag. Like Halloween 4, couldn't have more love for it. I love that movie so much. It's so great. Definitely top 5 Halloween movie for me. Probably like a top 10 horror movie of all time. And Halloween 6, we'll talk about it in like our Halloween specials finale. But that movie is like, as I have a soft spot for, because it's totally batshit crazy, and it's like the most insane. It's actually probably one of the most insane, silly movies I've ever seen in my life. Especially if you're watching like the producer's cut, it's just absolutely nutty. It's bananas. Everyone has it dialed to like 150, and the story is just where the story goes in contrast to these last like several movies is just shocking. But yeah, so we're talking about Halloween 5 today, which bridges the gap between the off the rails, totally bonkers Halloween 6 and the legitimate Halloween movie contender that revitalized the series in the late 80s, Halloween 4, which is Halloween 5, which even takes a marked direction from Halloween 4, as we'll talk about, but still has some connection, I think, which makes you like it. And there is, again, a lot about this movie to appreciate. Again, a lot of aspects of this movie are definitely subject to criticism, and I definitely won't shy away from that, even though I understand that the whole conceit to this whole podcast is, hey, this movie's underrated. Let's talk about what I like about it. I'm definitely gonna also point out some of the flaws, because this was a very flawed movie, despite having a lot of things that I very, very liked. What am I talking about? This is the first day I've ever learned to speak. But yeah, so we'll come back to you next week with Halloween 6 to finish off the Halloween series, and then we might take a few weeks off, and then we'll start the erotic thriller series, which is going to be a full-length series, I think like 10 to 12 episodes, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I think that'll be a very, very fun time. I have some guests lined up for that. But for now, we'll talk about Halloween 5. And Halloween, just to rehash my personal history with it, even though I know you've heard it a couple times now. Probably my favorite horror franchise, I would say. It's only rivaled by like Friday the 13th and Scream. Um, but yeah, I mean, Halloween I think is like the most interesting franchise because whereas Scream, they're all really good movies, and you know, they're all it's like the most consistent because they're all same quality, same actors. I mean, same through line story. There's only five of them. You know what I mean? I mean, there's about to be six, of course, but it's just less to love. And if you look at Friday the 13th is also very consistent in that a lot of the movies are good and they're very fun and watchable, but they're never great. I don't think. And believe me, there's entrances in the Friday the 13th franchise that I don't care for at all. Like if you pitted like Jason Takes Manhattan against Halloween 5, I'm definitely taking Halloween 5 because I despise that movie. But yeah, I mean, like even like, but like that's what makes Halloween so interesting. I think is because Halloween is definitely the most inconsistent of pretty much every horror franchise. But the peaks and valleys are so like stark in the contrast. Like, I mean, like Halloween 1978 is probably like in my top 10 bet and favorite movies of all time, and I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. But then, like literally, like four installments later, it's Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers, and also like Halloween 3 is in there, and then like Halloween Resurrection, which I love, but I can objectively see is kind of a bad movie and a bad installment in the franchise. And then I mean like then even to also have like Halloween 2018, like Kills and Ends, which was just released. I mean it's crazy that all of these movies, sure they all have Michael Myers, but like I mean in terms of like quality and like what's happening within the movies themselves, there's like almost no consistency. I mean, at Halloween 3, someone is like an old Irish warlock is trying to like murder all the children in the world, whereas Halloween 1 is literally just one guy chasing three females around a residential neighborhood in Illinois. But then like Halloween Resurrection is like about a reality show, and Halloween 6 there's runes and like magic, but not even related to Halloween 3. It's yeah, I mean it's all over the map really. But yeah, I've seen like I've said I've seen this movie countless times. I've seen all the Halloween movies countless times. I have my own rankings of the movies and of the masks, and I have my favorites on who played Michael, and like my favorite final girls and like sub final girls and recurring characters. And like I said, I've read several books and listened to many podcasts about these movies. I'm a huge fan, incredibly biased. You can come up to me and say, "Oh, this movie is actually this like you like Halloween 6? That movie's really fucking awful," and I'd be like, "No, it's not. I will die on that hill. I will die battling and fighting to prove that these movies are good and fun." And like the Halloween movies too are like, I like literally like fine dining for me, and it's like they're like a form of like self-love and self-care somehow. Like literally I think the last like two times I was sick, I remember I stayed home from work over the summer because I had like strep, or I thought it was like some strep-esque thing. But I like stayed home. Sorry, I came in really hot there. I can tell. But I stayed home and I watched Halloween 2018 and I watched Halloween Ends. And then like I was like sick, recovering from a hangover, like 2 weeks ago, and I called off work again, and I like literally just watched Halloween 1978, and then Halloween 2018 because I was like, oh, I've never watched it in that order, let's like try like the H40, like Halloween 40 years later. Let's try like watching it in that timeline. Which, by the way, I do have a theory that watching these movies in a certain order does affect how good they are. Because like I said with Halloween 2, I love the movie Halloween 2, but I think Halloween 2 is made infinitely better if you watch it right after Halloween 1978. And I think, even though I've never tried it, I'd love to watch like Halloween Halloween 2, Halloween 4, 5, and 6. Or, hey, watch Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and Halloween Resurrection. You know, like how there's like various timelines within Halloween. Like you just watch in that specific order. And I think watching Halloween and then Halloween 2018 in that order, like which was the first time I've ever done that actually, was actually made both of those movies kind of better. And it was very fun. But yeah, like I said, like these movies and like watching those movies made me feel physically better somehow. And I'm horrible at taking care of myself. Like literally the solutions to my problems are usually, hey, drink water, eat, take medicine. And I'm unable to do any of those things, especially if I'm like nursing like a gnarly hangover. It's like, hey, all you need to do is drink water, my brother. Please just drink water. And I'm like, I can't. No, if I do it, I'll throw up. They're like, hey, eat crackers or something. Just eat. I'm like, oh, I can't. I don't want to. And I just sleep and get more dehydrated and more sick. And then I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, why do I still feel awful? And it's like, oh, it's because you've had 2 saltine crackers in 48 hours. But those movies, they make me feel better. So yeah, love this franchise. Saw Halloween 2018 in theaters. Saw Halloween... Or no, I didn't see Halloween 2018 in theaters. I'm sorry. I rented it on DVD as soon as it came out. I saw Halloween Kills in theaters, and I saw Halloween Ends in theaters. Very fun. Very cool. And then I watched... Which I don't want to give away any spoilers for Halloween Ends again. I know we talked about it in the last one. But, you know, I really liked it. And I intend to watch it again on Peacock sometime this week. Just like how Halloween Kills after I... Sorry, the wind is getting real loud. I'm doing this by an open window. Just after, like, I saw Halloween Kills. We watched it on Peacock. I watched it on Peacock again. I've seen Halloween Kills like 5 times now. And it came out like 1 year ago. But yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta sometimes... I'm a huge fan. And sometimes it's so weird. It's like my opinions on these movies change like the direction of the wind that is so furiously blowing through the window right now. Because, like, literally, it's like I watched Halloween 5 a year ago, thought it was abysmal. Watched Halloween 5 like 4 months ago, didn't think it was that great still, but liked it a lot more than I previously had. And then this time, I was just like, yeah, it's back to being mid again. Like, it's necessary to do it again, like I said, because I personally don't think you can do 4 and 6 without doing 5, which is like the connecting tissue. But again, this movie does kind of go off the rails. And like, you know, reading the production notes and reading this book and like looking on IMDb and reading Wikipedia production stuff, like this movie, the production of this movie is just absolutely crazy. And given the pieces and parts that they had, I'm surprised they even put together something that even makes remote sense. I mean, some of the stuff I'll read you is pretty crazy. And I think you'll find it... I mean, I can only hope you'll find it as interesting as I do. But anyway, yeah. So that's like my history with the Halloween franchise. I'm a huge fan. Will be until the day I die. You know? And I certainly don't... I hope that Halloween Ends isn't really the end. I understand if it's going to be like the end for... like Jamie Lee Curtis and like, you know, Nick Castle. And like the characters of like Allison and Karen and Sheriff Hawkins... or Deputy Hawkins, sorry. But yeah, I hope these movies continue on in some way. And I do enjoy, you know, just as a side note, I do really enjoy, like, seeing Halloween through the lens of, like, more even, like, a character drama. Like, of course, they're horror movies, but there's, like, more depth to them. And more depth, and, like, the characters are better written than, like, previous installments, I think. And I think that is a really nice change, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of that stuff. Like, I've been formulating in my head, and I'm sorry, I know I've just been all over the place in this episode. I'm just very excited. But yeah, I just think, I've been thinking of like, I'm like, man, they really could, like, they went back and did something with Jamie Lee Curtis, and went back to the Jamie Lee Curtis well, like, numerous times. I just really feel like fans love the character of Jamie, like, as she is presented in, like, Halloween 4 and 5. And I feel like, and Danielle Harris is still, like, relatively young. She's, like, 40s, maybe. And, like, I just, like, I feel like you could do something with that character. People love Jamie Lloyd. And, like, to do something with her as an adult, but, like, make it, like, more character-driven. And, like you did with Laurie, like, focus on the effects and the trauma of having gone through something like this, but also having to deal with like its resurgence and how you deal with that now, being like the different person that you are. Like, I think would be really cool. Like, they could literally wait till 2029, even 2028, 2029, and do like another, oh, it's been 40 years since this little girl was attacked. What's she up to? Let's see how she's dealing with stuff now. You know, what would happen if Michael Myers came back to haunt her? Like, I think I saw on Twitter, they were like, yeah, someone should just do, maybe even ignore the events of Halloween 5 and just do a continuation from Halloween 4. Because, like, I don't know, as much as I like Halloween 5, and I would like it to be part of the new canon, because I think Jamie and Loomis are doing great things in this movie, and it doesn't deserve to be retconned or anything. I think, and we'll talk about this, like, the Man in Black stuff is too interconnected with Part 6. And I think Part 6, as much as I love it, does, like, Jamie, the character of Jamie Lloyd, totally dirty. And it's borderline disrespectful. I think like this movie is too interconnected with 6, like even way more so than 5. To where if we wanted to ignore Part 6, we'd have to ignore Part 5 too. But I'd love to see like Jamie. And again, I feel like now that I'm saying it, these are like end of the podcast thoughts that I'm just presenting right up front. Because it's just like you're listening to my free association and just like just unlimited, uninterrupted stream of consciousness on a specific topic. But yeah, I think continuing off of like Halloween 4 and seeing like, oh, like maybe Jamie did murder her stepmother, and like they like, yeah, she clearly did that at the end of Halloween 4. Maybe she's been institutionalized for 40 years, and they could even like do like they could have like Halloween 5 elements of it, like the fact that she's institutionalized and traumatized, but just like do it now while she's older, you know. It could just basically be Halloween 5, but like a newer, different, better version of it. But yeah, anyway, we can get into this movie beat by beat then. Well, actually not beat by beat, because I have to go over just the initial stuff that I like to talk about. So, okay, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, which in itself is a pretty troublesome, interesting title for this movie. Because, like, Michael Myers is, like, the aggressor. Like, who is this man getting revenge on? If anything, everyone in the world is supposed to be getting revenge on him. He is the evil one pursuing and murdering these people. So I think there's a long line of people that want to get revenge on Michael Myers. But, like, what does Michael Myers need to get revenge for? Like, the fact that, like, they shot him at the end of the last one? Like, you're alive, dude. They didn't even hurt you. So, like, what are you getting revenge for? But yeah, okay. So The Revenge of Michael Myers is a 1989 American slasher film, co-written and directed by Dominique Othenin-Girard. I slipped into a French accent there for a second, but I didn't know if that was offensive or not, so I kind of got out of it. But yeah, it's the 5th installment in the Halloween franchise of movies. And this one picks up 1 year after the event of Halloween 4, as Michael Myers once again attempts to kill his niece, Jamie Lloyd, who is now, following the attempted murder of her stepmother, institutionalized and traumatized. And, like, you know, Michael's coming after her once more. This movie was released on October 13th, 1989, by Trancas International, which is like Mustafa Kad's production company. And it grossed $11.6 million against a budget of $5.5 million. So, you know, decent returns. I think it was the lowest grossing Halloween movie, actually, in the franchise. But, you know, still, like, made its money back and then some. Like I said, it was directed by Dominique Othenin-Girard, who directed this really interesting movie that I didn't even know he did until doing my research, called After Darkness. It's like a psychological thriller horror-type movie. That stars like John Hurt and Julian Sands, like 2 horror icons, as like brothers. And he also directed the TV movie The Omen 4: The Awakening. So I could, if we'd ever do that made-for-TV horror movie series, maybe I could do that one. But yeah, it was like I said, it was co-written by Dominique Othen and Gerard. I'm gonna literally his initials are DOG, dog. So like in my notes, I constantly refer to him as DOG, but it's literally I'm looking at him like, oh, that's just dog. But yeah, it was written by him and his writing partner Michael Jacobs, and they reworked a Shem Bitterman script. The movie stars, like the previous installment, Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, Ellie Cornell as Rachel Carruthers, Beau Starr as Sheriff Ben Meeker, with new cast members, Wendy Kaplan coming in to play the character Tina, and Tamara Glynn, who was actually in some Freddy's Nightmares episodes, and she was recently made a cameo in Terrifier 2, but she plays Tina's friend Samantha. And then, of course, Don Shanks portrays Michael Myers as well as the Man in Black in most scenes. The score for this one, again, is done by Alan Howarth, who a frequent John Carpenter collaborator, who has been, who did a lot of the Halloween scores and a lot of scores of other movies, like we covered in the last one. The runtime for this movie is 96 minutes, so solid runtime. Like we've always said, a movie. I don't know, like why Hollywood wants to do this thing. Like I mean, literally, like, quick tangent. Hollywood is going on this path again, where they're doing like 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movies all the time, and like that's cool. I mean, there's no such thing as too much of a good thing. But like they're doing like some Lawrence of Arabia, Cecil B. DeMille type shit where these movies are so freaking long. And I think that like you really need to be conscious of people's time in their lives. Okay, directors of movies, I don't know who you think can just like if like I think like 90 minutes to an hour 45, like less than 2 hours is the perfect runtime for a movie, because it's like, you know, you can just pop it in, watch it anytime you want. I mean, people have that kind of time to kill all the time, and that's why like I always find my like you know, we have jobs, we have social lives, we have family obligations, things that take up our time, you know, and it's just I think it's very convenient when like all these slasher movies and a lot of like comedy movies are like, yeah, hour and a half length, baby. What are you gonna watch? Gone with the Wind? It's like 4 hours. No, you're gonna watch Dude, Where's My Car, which is like an hour and 20. And maybe I'm not getting the best content I could be, but you know, I just appreciate, and I think most people do appreciate when a movie is like concise and condensed. You know, like I watched the movie Annabelle Creation last night with friends. And like, hey, that movie doesn't need to be an hour and 15 minutes long. We put it on because it was a horror movie, and I was just like, dear God, why am I still here? It's 30 minutes after midnight. I was trying to go home many hours ago. I'm tired. And I couldn't get over how upset I was that movie was that long. But yeah, sorry. I'll talk about some scores with you, like ratings, I guess. IMDb gives this movie a 4.9 out of 10. Which is, you know, not awful, especially when you think about how Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 12%, which gotta be one of the lowest in the franchise. Letterboxd gives it a 2.2 out of 5. It's not bad. But hey, 82% of Google users like this movie. So that's not bad. How did I personally watch this movie? Normally I would watch it on the VHS that I have that I paid an arm and a leg for, but like I've said in the past, because I have to keep playing and pausing frequently, I don't like to do that because it puts a lot of stress on the player, and also it's annoying because a lot of my VHS players don't have remotes. So I did watch this on Shudder, which I have through an Amazon extension. But yeah, it's on Amazon. You can rent it, or you know, go to your local library. Why would someone have missed this movie? You know, why is it a movie you might have missed? I think there's, you know, it's the usual reasons. I think maybe, you know, you don't like horror movies. Maybe you don't like horror sequels, especially when it's like pretty late in the game and sequel number 5. I think the more sequels you make, the less people are going to return to something, to a property or to an idea. You know, I mean, like, you look at all the big horror franchises, I mean, and the ones that people really love, I think the ones that got the most, like, love and care put into them are, like, the first couple, and then after that, pretty much with every series, not even just horror, I think people automatically assume there's kind of a steep drop and a fallout, like a fall off, like they kind of fall off the cliff in terms of quality. And of course, I disagree with that strongly, as we all know. But, you know, I think people definitely assume, like, oh, they're still making those? Why? No, thank you. I think I got my fill in the first 4 or whatever. But yeah, this one especially does not have good reviews. I'll read you some of the like critical reviews later. Very, very bad. Very, very negative. This movie, when it came out, was met with overwhelmingly negative reviews from critics. And even fans of the franchise don't necessarily really love this one as much as others. And even, I mean, especially the ones that came before, but even, like I said, ones that came after. Like, people definitely prefer 4 and 6 to this movie pretty universally. But again, it has a soft spot in my and a lot of people's hearts too. But yeah, I think, and especially 4, I don't think at the time was very well received. I think by and large, they said, yeah, this return of Michael Myers shouldn't have happened. He should have stayed gone. They should have kept going with the anthology because this movie is unbearable. But, you know, 4 definitely has, like, you know, the harsh criticisms have definitely softened in the past. And I think people definitely, I mean, it has a cult following, but I think people just, like, genuinely consider 4 a good installment now. But, you know, back then, not so much. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons why you wouldn't see this movie. And again, like, no Jamie Lee Curtis might scare people off. No John Carpenter might keep people. I mean, lack of name recognition, I think, just for a lot of these characters and writers and people involved in general. I mean, sure, you got like Donald Pleasance, and Mustafa Akkad is still, you know, producing. But like this one, like a lot, like 5 has very little people who went on to become like big stars. Like even like, you know, Curse of Michael Myers has like Paul Rudd. You know, the first 2 had Jamie Lee Curtis. Halloween 3 has the guy who played Dan Chalice. I'm forgetting his Tom Atkins, who's like you know, now a horror icon. H2O has JLC and like Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams and Adam Arkin. So you might want to watch those because there's just people you know in them, you know. Hell, even Resurrection has like Busta Rhymes and the guy from American Pie and that girl from Battlestar Galactica and that guy who was in the Luck of the Irish Disney movie and Tyra Banks. I mean, like, I don't know. They certainly, because I think for Halloween 4 and 5 they were mostly just like, aside from Pleasance and Harris, they were just kind of grabbing from the local Salt Lake City, like local theater and college actors and stuff. So it's not a lot of people that went on to have huge careers, which I think lack of, like, you know, recognizable names does kind of make people shy away at times. I'm definitely guilty of that myself. But again, I don't think that stops this movie from being very, very interesting. And now we can just, if you'll let me flip through my little notes here, we can just go through this baby bit by bit. I have 6 pages of notes. So, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but I think this might be a long one. Okay, so the movie begins, and we see Halloween 5, and actually, it doesn't say The Revenge of Michael Myers. It doesn't say. Well, it says Mustafa Akkad presents Halloween 5, but there's actually no. I think the subtitle of The Revenge of Michael Myers was actually added later, because in the movie it's not presented at all. It just says Halloween 5. But we see the credits. You know, the people's names. An Orange Against Black, but it's intercut with like a knife slicing, and you think, oh, is this knife slicing human flesh, perhaps? But no, psych, it's actually pumpkin guts, because it's like footage of someone carving a pumpkin, but it's actually made to look, you know, like it's like a slashing of a person. And then Halloween 5 here kind of takes a page out of the Friday the 13th book, because there's a re-showing of the last minute and a half or so of Halloween 4. Like Friday the 13th parts like 2 and 3 and 4. They all have like 2 and 3 especially. Like Steve Miner loves to do this, I think, where literally I think Friday the 13th part 2 starts with like literally the last like 5 minutes of Friday the 13th being shown through a dream sequence. Like, hey, we just watched the movie. We don't need to see this again. But we see the last minute or so of Halloween 4 where Michael is like thrown off of the truck, off of old Earl's truck, and then he's shot numerous times, just riddled with bullets, and falls down like an old well mine shaft type thing. And like but now with the new footage, we see Michael like crawling through like the rubble of the well. Like he's like crawling through these underground tunnels, and he's like obviously like super injured at this point. And he manages to like escape and throw himself like the well, it obviously like leads to like a river of some kind. So we see Michael like crawling, and he throws himself out of this river, or like out of the well, out of the tunnel into a river, just as like the cops like throw like a stick of dynamite down the well and like blow it up. So they think he's dead, but Michael's actually like, and this is new footage, but he's actually like merrily floating down a river. And it's funny too, because like you can tell when the new footage, like the new footage is obviously cut with the old footage to make it look like one continuous sequence, but you can tell actually when the new stuff starts, because you can actually see Michael's mask change, because for reasons I'll get into later, the mask, Michael Myers' mask in this movie is different from the previous installment, even though they were filmed like back to back practically. They had to change masks, and this Michael Myers mask has some distinct features, and you could tell that this is the new footage based on the distinct look of the new mask. So Michael's just floating down this river, and he gets caught in like this fishing net that's tied to this like old rickety wood bridge, and we find out that this fishing net belongs to this like weird old homeless train conductor hipster guy from the Great Depression, who is like who's living in this like little bungalow that he's built for himself by this like river, which is like super weird. I mean, I've seen homeless people before, but I've never seen a homeless person with like this ornate setup. Like this dude literally straight up like built himself a house next to this river. And we see this guy inside, and he literally has like a parrot named Tukey. I'm like, where'd this guy get a parrot? But yeah, so Michael stumbles into this guy's little shanty bungalow and almost kills him before falling unconscious. And then the screen cuts to black. And then we see on the screen it says Halloween Eve 1 year later. So that sequence tacked on to the Halloween 4 footage was all that same night. And now we are 1 year in the future because, hey, this is the new setting for this new film that we're about to watch. And we catch up with Jamie. We see that Jamie has now been committed to a mental clinic for like children after like the attempted murder of her mother. Again, this is kind of retconned because at the end of Halloween 4, it's definitely made like you're definitely made to think that, oh, Jamie just murdered her, not her stepmother but her foster mother. But like, yeah, in this one it's like, oh, she didn't actually kill her, she just attempted to kill her, and now they put her in this psychiatric facility. And in this facility she like suffers from like horrible nightmares. And we catch her in this, like, we catch up with her in this scene where it's like the middle of the night and she's like laying in bed in a cold sweat. And somehow, inexplicably, she is like seeing these visions of like what Michael is doing. Like she is like basically like seeing through Michael's eyes, and we see through Jamie's eyes Michael like wake up from this coma. that he's been in for, I guess this dude literally collapsed and he was in a coma for an entire year. And we see through Jamie's eyes that Michael has awoken from his slumber, and he murders the cool hobo who I guess has been just fostering him and keeping him alive for a whole year to only kill him on this October 30th. But yeah, so seeing this and how confusing and traumatizing it is to literally see a person being murdered right before your eyes, but it's not you doing it, causes Jamie to have a weird seizure or something. And Jamie is mute. Jamie has been rendered mute by the trauma she experienced a year ago and hasn't spoken in a year. So the next day following this seizure, I'm sorry, I know I'm unloading a lot of concepts on you. This movie, again, is batshit crazy, and it doesn't shy away from that. It's immediately insane. So the next day, Jamie is visited by Rachel, her foster sister. And, because Rachel's a good sister and loves Jamie very much. And they went through this traumatic thing together. But now Rachel actually has this annoying friend, Tina, who we're going to see a lot of in this movie, unfortunately. But she's very vibrant, and she dresses very 80s punk type, where she wears jeans and but also tutus and scarves and black combat boots, and she has giant hair, crimped or something, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. And she's very bombastic and outspoken, and she has a dog, Max. And they come there to visit Rachel, and they give her this princess Halloween costume. But then enter Loomis, who's hey, what's going on here? You guys are disturbing Jamie. Loomis in this one is pretty nuts. You'll come to find out that this, I love Loomis. I love Loomis in the original. Don't get me wrong, but starting with Halloween 2, and only getting exponentially more so in 4, 5, and 6, Loomis is totally unhinged, batshit crazy. This one, in the last one, he was pretty tame. In Halloween 2, he was a little crazier. Halloween 4, a little crazier, but then 5 and 6, he's lost it. He's off the rails, and it's great because Donald Pleasance is an incredible actor. So just the stuff they let him do in this movie and the way he does it is so good. But yeah, so Loomis, I guess, has been looking after Jamie for this past year and working with her, and he's hey, you guys are being annoying and disturbing Jamie. You gotta leave. But then a rock flies through the window, breaking the glass and scaring the teen girls. And the rock has a note attached to it that says, "The evil child must die." And Loomis and Rachel discuss what the implications of this note, and are oh man, the townsfolk are really wary of Jamie after what happened with Jamie and but foster mother. By the way, this storyline, this plot line never returns. Does not have any bearing on this movie whatsoever. So this was such a weird thing that happened. Rachel has a perm now, which looks good, I think. But yeah, so Rachel leaves the clinic and is apparently going on a trip with her parents. And we see Rachel go to her house to change clothes. But we also, through the killer cam, see that she's being stalked. And we know it's by Michael Myers. And we cut back to Jamie, who is now in some sort of class at this psychiatric facility. And she can see, again, Michael's point of view. And she sees Rachel and knows that he is stalking her. Through their weird, unexplained psychic link that they have all of a sudden. Yeah, you heard me. They have a psychic link now. Jamie, for some reason, because of the trauma or because of the weird hand touch they had at the end of Halloween 4, Jamie and Michael now have a psychic bond. Just like Ellen Brody and the shark in Jaws 4. And she knows and can see when Michael is about to kill. By the way, never explained, really. Never explained at all. It's literally never even talked about. Loomis kind of knows at it and he hints at it, and he wants Jamie to use it to help him find Michael, but no one is ever why is this happening? How is this happening? So yeah, that's a main plot point in this movie, just so you are aware. Yeah, so Jamie, of course, starts freaking out. And Loomis, like at Jamie's insistence, calls Rachel and like warns her and like screams at her to leave the house. And then she sees that her dog Max is now missing. You know how much Michael likes to kill dogs. So then Rachel does end up calling the cops and she leaves. And then we see Rachel leave, and Rachel is actually just in a towel because she got out of the shower. But then, like, after she leaves and goes outside to the neighbors for help, we see Michael, like, in the upstairs window watching her from the outside of the house. So obviously he was really close. So then these cops come, and these like bumbling idiot cops, who have like this weird, quirky slide whistle theme that plays whenever they arrive, which is so unfitting for this movie. And they're the only cops really you see in this whole movie for some reason. But yeah, so they come and they search the house and they find nothing. And then Max comes back. I guess he just got out and ran away. Everyone thinks everything's fine and cool, baby. It's all good. It must have been an exaggeration. Jamie's, just freaking out. But yeah, like I said, Loomis is like a menace in this one. Loomis, like, after they are like, hey, Rachel's okay, he's like, listen, like, what's going on? You have some sort of connection. Like, you knew, or you thought that he was going to attack. Like, you know where he is. Why won't you help me find him? Like, Loomis is just like off the rails. He's become a monster trying to pursue a monster. And he's like grabbing Jamie and like violently shaking her and yelling at her in this scene and then in the whole movie. And like he's just like, listen, what's going on with this connection? How do you have this connection? Like, what is this connection? Let me use it to find Michael. We need to find Michael. He's out there. But yeah, so we see we go back to the Carruthers house, Rachel's house, and we see Rachel is again just like, hey, everything's fine and cool, everything's normal. I'm gonna go ahead and keep getting ready. But then we see Max is outside, like, who has been put outside at this point, and he's barking. He's barking his head off again, but he's barking at the house. Or someone in the house. It's actually pretty creepy. And then boom, just like that, Michael pops out from behind a corner and stabs Rachel with a pair of scissors. And she's gone. Which made me think, in my head, I'm like, is this the revenge? Is this it? Did Michael Myers want to get revenge on Rachel for helping Jamie escape his clutches a year ago? Is this it? Is this the revenge? Is Michael going on a revenge tour? Is this it? But this is the only indication of revenge. He goes after Rachel. And then he tries to go after Jamie. Even though he doesn't really try to go after Jamie in this one. Again, very confusing. Don't understand the revenge thing or Michael's goals or ambitions in this one. But yeah, so Rachel, our beloved final girl adjacent character from part 4, is gone. R.I.P. And again, she was like third build, but she's dead in 20 minutes of the movie. So we catch Loomis, who is basically, like, even though he's been dormant for a year taking care of Jamie, he's activated now, and he's doing his rounds. So he shows up at the sheriff's station, and he attempts to warn Ben Meeker that Michael is back. And he's like, Ben Meeker's like, no, we killed him. He's gone. You're crazy. But also, he literally asks, he's like, what proof do you have? He said, oh, Jamie had a vision. And like, even though we know that he is back, Ben Meeker is like completely dismissive of this, of course. And I don't think you can blame Ben Meeker because Loomis has less than zero evidence that Michael is back. I mean, no one has even seen him. All we know is that there is some girl had a vision. So like, I guess you can't even blame old Ben for like being skeptical. There's this cool line though where Loomis is just like, showing Ben Meeker all of his like burn scars on his hands and on his face and stuff, and he's like, I wanted him to burn in hell, but I knew hell would not have him. That was a pretty good Loomis, actually, from my own ears. But yeah, so that's a pretty good line, I think. But yeah, Ben Meeker's not sold. Then we cut back to Rachel's again. First big set piece for the first act. And Tina shows up, annoying Tina. And she shows up looking for Rachel, but Rachel's not there. And then Tina is like unknowingly stalked by Michael. But then her other annoying friend, Sammy, arrives. And they leave, believing that Rachel's absence is simply due to her leaving for her trip with her family. So no one even notices that Rachel is gone because they just assume that she went on the trip. And she talked about the trip. So that's actually just like pretty airtight writing, I guess. But yeah, this girl, Sammy, is Tina's friend. And they're both just really loud and boisterous and obnoxious and like quirky girls. And it's just, their characterization does bother me. I just like you look at Rachel and she was really cool. And like Dominique Othen and Gerard in the interview that I referenced earlier, that I'll talk about at the end, like references why he would want to get rid of Rachel and like inject Tina and Sammy into this movie. But I just like, and I understand your rationale, but I just don't know if it works necessarily, because I think even though these two characters were kind of reflective of like a certain female archetype at the time, I just don't think it's one anyone wants to see pursued in a horror movie. And I think that's why Tina is like probably one of the most hated characters in Halloween history. But yeah, something interesting to note too is that Tina and Sammy are talking, and one of them says like, oh man, I can't believe we have this whole house all to ourselves all weekend with Rachel's family being gone. And it's like, they never go back to the house. They never go back to the Carruthers house like the entire movie. Like literally, I actually think, like, listening to that line and thinking about it, I'm like, oh, if like the Carruthers house, where like Michael knows Jamie lives, was like the set piece for this movie, and like pretty much the central focal point, like, oh, like literally like kind of like the Myers house is in like part 6, or like the Doyle and Wallace houses are in part 1. Like if you just have like centralized locations, I think it makes something like a slasher film much better, and like it just seems more logical. Because like, I don't know, like this is like, this one especially, Michael Myers is, and like even Halloween 4 too, Michael Myers is all over the place. Like he's just looking for these girls everywhere and finding them everywhere, places he has like no business knowing like how they are or like where they are, you know what I mean? Like Michael just straight up shows up at the Carruthers house, even though like I can't even remember, like, yeah, I mean like nothing took place at the Carruthers house in the last movie, nothing. So like it makes almost no sense that Michael would show up here in the very beginning of the movie. Like, how would he know that Jamie lives there? Like, the main showdown with Michael last movie took place at Ben Meeker's house. So why wouldn't you show up at Ben Meeker's house if that's where you thought Jamie was? Like, how do you have any idea that Jamie lives there? And even if you do have an idea that Jamie lives there, why wouldn't you just hang around there and, like, continue to stalk and, like, kill anyone who showed up? And I think that would just, like, it's like, in Halloween 1. And again, I don't mean to shit on this movie. I love this. I like this movie a lot. And there's a lot of good things to it. But, like, the fact that, like, in Halloween 1, Michael goes to his house, which makes sense because it's what he knows. It's the only place he's ever been in Haddonfield. And he goes to his house. And then he sees Laurie Strode. And then he follows Laurie Strode for the rest of the day, rest of the movie. Like, Michael's actions are logical. Like, the fact that Michael is at the Carruthers house is flawed in itself. Doesn't make any sense. But the fact that then Michael leaves the Carruthers house and is at all these million different locations makes no effing sense. Like, just, like, it just, and, like, I guess, like, his actions in Halloween 4 like they actually do go through the lengths to find out, like to make him to like literally in Halloween 4. Even though I know we talked about it last week, not last week but last episode. Like in Halloween 4, Michael escapes. Like just follows the logical, the road that he's on till he gets to a gas station where he finds better clothes, finds a car, and then he keeps going to Haddonfield based on like road signs. That's fine. He did that in the first one. I can buy that. And then he steals a mask from a drugstore, Vincent Drug or whatever, just like he did in the first one. Fine. He said, I need a new mask. That's fine. And then like he stows away, first of all, he like goes to knock out the power, which makes sense. And then he stows away. And then he goes to the police station to like butcher all the cops to make sure none of the cops can come running. Makes sense. To a certain extent, because how does he know exactly where the police station is? Maybe public signs. And then like from the police station, he stows away in the cop's back seat to get to the Meeker house. Makes sense. But like Michael's goings and comings in this movie, they're not like and I get that this movie was rushed into production and released a year later after the success of Halloween 4. And I don't know, they couldn't really do... And I don't know if I said that already or not. But yeah, the production on this movie was incredibly rushed because Mustafa Khan wanted to capitalize on the success of Halloween 4 right away. So they put this movie into production pretty much as soon as they found out that Halloween 4 made money. And they said, let's do that again. Let's make more money again. So like things like this kind of fall through the cracks. But like, they don't explain Michael's like how he gets anywhere at all in this movie. Like I guess he just like straight up walks from this guy's bungalow to the Carruthers house. How does he have any idea where the Carruthers house is? And again, like, well, and I guess it kind of makes logical sense because like then he seemingly follows Tina and Sammy for like the rest of the movie. But again, that doesn't make any sense because why would you follow Tina and Sammy if your mission is to kill, if you want revenge or whatever, and you want to kill Rachel and Jamie and maybe Loomis? Like, just hang around this Carruthers house and Jamie might be back or Loomis might show up. The fact that he's like, oh, I'm just going to follow these new characters that no one knows. And again, maybe that's the flaw with this whole movie, is that a lot of it is spent following these new characters that no one knows and they're not likable either. And like, Michael doesn't know them, so like, why would he follow them? Why are we following them? Okay, but anyway, that was a long rant on that. But anyway, there is also a line when Tina and Sammy, our new protagonists, I guess, and again, I'll talk about this later in the production thing. I think a lot of this is because of like the script, like splicing that they did, how there were like initial drafts and rewrites, and parts were cut and parts were like shrunk and then parts were expanded. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. They did the best with what they could, I guess. But like overall, it was like a Frankenstein type script. And like the writing is just so flawed. But yeah, while Tina and Sammy are talking, Tina says to Sammy, she said, "Why don't you bag Spitz tonight? Or are you gonna bag Spitz?" And again, that's a sentence I heard, and I said, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't even know what she's trying to convey. You want to bag Spitz? We later find out that Spitz is the name of a person. And it's Sammy's boyfriend. So when she says, "Do you want to bag Spitz tonight?" I was like, bag spit? Do you want to bag a spit? But no, she just was like, oh, are you going to try to have sex with this guy named Spitz, whose real name is probably Charles or something. But yeah, my next note, extended scenes of characters we just met and automatically aren't really liking is a bold move, Domenico said Gerard, because there is like 2 to 3 minutes of Sammy and Tina just talking and like doing cartwheels in a field, and then they meet up with Tina's boyfriend, and I'm like, who the hell are any of these people? the fact that this is like a main focus of 5 minutes of the movie is absurd. But yeah, meanwhile, back at the child hospital, there's this weird sequence where Jamie is chased into a basement by Michael, but it turns out it's just a janitor when he reaches for her in her hiding spot. So we don't know if this is a hallucination or what. Maybe they just put this in to get extra scares and tension. But I don't. It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, so we then see Jamie in her room again, and we see Loomis come in and he's hassling Jamie again, like screaming at her and shaking her. I say hassling, but in really it's like extreme harassment, bordering on like abuse. Where like Loomis is literally like grabbing Jamie and shaking her shoulders, and like where is Michael? Why won't you tell me where Michael is? And you know, but you won't say. Why? And literally this nurse has to come in and is just like, hey, leave that girl alone. Like this random nurse that we don't know is for some reason like Jamie's saving grace now, even though that was supposed to be like Loomis in the last one. He's just lost it. And Loomis is like asking her, he's like, have you ever wondered why he has this power over you? And it's like, yeah, man, we all are wondering. None of us have any idea about what is happening. And then we cut to a bus station where a man in all black exits a bus, and he's wearing like spurs and like a long black duster coat and like a hat, and he looks like some sort of old-timey desperado, and he like kicks a dog to show that he's a bad guy. But like this is just in the middle of this movie for no reason, and it has no context. Okay, but we do get a pretty I'm sorry, we do get a pretty good scene here where Loomis goes to the Myers house because he's looking for Michael. And again, Loomis's direction in this movie makes sense because he's crazy and he just wants to find Michael. And he's like going through his rotation, you know? He's doing his reads. He's like, all right, Michael might be back. I don't know why I think this, really, but I have a gut feeling he's back. I'm going to go talk to the sheriff, and then I'm going to go look around for him. So Loomis goes to the Myers house to find Michael. And he's wandering around muttering unto himself. He gets scared by a dead animal falling out of like a chute of some kind. And we see as Loomis leaves, the man in black with the spurs from the bus earlier step out from the shadows. So this guy is connected to Michael somehow, but we don't really know why or how. And you find out later, if you like look in the production notes and like read this book, that the producers and the writers and the director also had no idea how this guy was going to be related to Michael Myers. They said, let's just put him in there to make it interesting. But they connect him to Michael Myers because I did forget to mention this. We see at the beginning of this movie that Michael Myers has this weird tattoo that looks like a triangle kite type thing on his wrist. And we see this when he's like being nursed back to health by the homeless hipster guy. And this man in black from the bus station who's at Michael's house right now also has the same tattoo. And we later find out, of course, in Halloween 6 that this tattoo is like a rune shape, and it's like the symbol for the cult of Thorn. But of course, that is not explained in this movie. So it's just shown to confuse you. But yeah, so we cut to Michael, and Michael is stalking like Tina and Sammy and Tina's boyfriend, whose name is also Mike, by the way, and he's like a classic greaser Fonzie type. And he has like a black Camaro, and he wears like leather jackets and like little small frame sunglasses, and he's a cool guy, but also a dick. And he also kind of looks like Dustin Hoffman a little bit. But yeah, Michael is stalking these teens. No idea why. If he's supposed to be on this journey, this quest to like kill Jamie, no idea. Like, is it literally because like, oh, he went to Jamie's house? And because Jamie wasn't there and Rachel is dead, maybe these people could lead me to Jamie? But again, I think the better bet would just be to like keep waiting at the house. And I think it just makes for weird, like it just makes for such a bizarre turn in this movie that we're just watching Michael follow these characters that we don't really know for such a long period of time. But yeah, these teens are trying to score beer, and we meet the infamous Spitz, because Spitz works at this grocery store, and he's trying to get everybody beer from the back for this tower barn party that's supposed to be happening later, which again is like another big set piece for this movie. So we see this greaser dickhead Mike guy, which is funny because his name is the same as Michael Myers. He goes around back to get the beer from Spitz, but Michael is there, like Michael Myers is there, and Michael Myers and like a fave kill in this movie. He goes up to this guy and he like has this old farm rake where it's like a rake, but like the claws on the rake are like curved. I don't know what it's used for exactly. Maybe grabbing bales of hay or something. He just slams it on this guy's car and he like scratches the shit out of it. I guess just to piss the guy off. And then the guy gets out of his car and he's like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna beat your ass. Don't know what you're doing, messing with my wheels, man." But then Michael just rakes him right through the face, which is a good death. It's a good death. Again, I don't care about this guy at all. Just met him, literally. But now he's dead. But again, this is one of the better kills in the movie. I think this is one of the most memorable ones. And I guess it was cut down to meet like MPAA standards because he was going to be like squirming on the ground in blood, but like it's cut pretty short. So then we cut to the hospital where they are having a Halloween pageant. I said that word weird. But yeah, so Jamie is dressed up as a princess, and then Jamie has this like friend who's like a little kid at the hospital. His name is Billy Hill, and he's like a stutter, and I guess he's in a psychiatric hospital because he has a stutter. Again, his character's not really fleshed out in any meaningful way, but he's like always by Jamie's side for some reason all of a sudden. And he's dressed as a pirate. And you see them competing in this pageant, I guess. I don't know. But like the contest is interrupted because at the same time that the pageant is happening, Tina is being stalked by Michael. But get this, it's Michael Myers wearing Mike's clothes, like Mike, Tina's boyfriend's clothes, and driving his car and wearing his mask. So Tina thinks it's her boyfriend. So she gets in the car with him and they're heading to the town, the Tower Barn party. But Jamie knows better. She says, because she's seeing it, so that must mean this guy's Michael. So she sees through Michael's eyes that like Michael has Tina in her clutches, and she starts freaking out because like she's a mute, traumatized kid with psychic powers and is about to see her friend get murdered or something. But yeah, so like it's so funny too because again, I do appreciate like Michael using theatrics to kill people, kind of like in Halloween the original, when he dresses up in the sheet and pretends to be Bob, to kill Linda, which I thought was one of the like more like famous kills from that movie. I think like one of the more infamous and interesting. So it's like this is kind of likens back to that, but again, he and Tina are in like literally like Linda and Bob are in the room conversing in 1978 Halloween for like maybe 30 seconds before she has to get a phone call and cut away. Because like any much longer than that, and Linda would be like, "Bob, why are you acting this weird?" Take off the sheet, and then she would realize that it's not Bob. But like literally, Tina is talking to her supposed boyfriend, who's really Michael Myers, for so long, for an entire car ride. And because she's so ditzy and dumb and quirky, and pretty much only talks to like listen to herself talk, and this guy doesn't seem like much of a talker anyway, she doesn't notice. Also, Michael Myers should smell super horrible, and his hands super burned. You're not noticing that your boyfriend has burned hands? Like it's like improbable that she wouldn't notice. With how he's not talking at all, that this isn't her boyfriend. But anyway. They go to this gas station because Tina wants to buy cigarettes, and for some reason Michael stops to let her. No idea why. But yeah, Jamie and Loomis actually Like, because Loomis is at the pageant and he sees Jamie freaking out, and he's like, "Get the cops!" And there's this awful scene where Jamie is like trying to like mime and like squeak out words to indicate where Tina is and her vision, and she says like, "Oh, cookie woman," because like in her, she can see Michael Myers is looking at a billboard for like a cookie company that has a woman on it. So then they're like, "Oh, big cookie woman, get over to Prospect and Third. She's at that gas station." And like, who could possibly say why these cops are doing this or why this works as well as it does? Like, why they're able to like, oh, believe me, because when I say it works well, it doesn't work well for the scene. It's so unbelievably stupid. But like, for some reason, her saying "cookie woman" gets the cops there immediately, and Tina is saved. And then Tina's like, "Wait, what about my boyfriend Mike?" And she looks over, and the car is gone. So, but yeah, back at the hospital, Tina and Jamie reunite, and Jamie is so happy to see Tina that Jamie is no longer traumatized anymore, and she's cured, because then she's like, "Oh my gosh, Tina," and she speaks her first word, her first like real word, for the first time in the whole movie. And even though like, hey, you saw Rachel die earlier in a vision, you couldn't utter the word Rachel. But yeah, because, well, that's the thing, because Tina obviously means more to Jamie than Rachel does for some reason. So yeah, she utters her first word, Tina, which, by the way, you'll hear from Jamie a million more times throughout this movie. She can't say, I think if I looked up a statistic, if anyone bothered to track, I think 85% of the words Danielle Harris says in this movie are just her saying Tina. But yeah, so Tina and Jamie reunite briefly, but then Tina's like, "Hey, I still want to go to this Tower Barn party, and I don't really know what's going on or why I was brought here, so I'm going to head out." Like, literally, Tina, the worst character in this franchise, don't at me, I don't care, she's so awful. Like, Dominique Othen and Gerard, you cannot convince me that this is a good character, even though you can convince me of a lot of other things. Like, literally, Tina is like, despite Mike's weird behavior, the fact that he was acting so weird, despite getting picked up by the police, Jamie protesting for her not to go, not to leave her, through tears, and having just spoken for her first word in a year, Tina says, I still gotta make the party. Everyone's waiting for me. And she abandons Jamie at this hospital. Truly insane. Truly deplorable character behavior. Like, you really want me to like this ditzy, stupid girl who does this unimaginable thing, which is to leave Jamie in this time. Like, literally, if a child, for any reason at all, is crying and sobbing and is suddenly talking for the first time after a year and wants me to stay, who's leaving? Who's leaving? I understand the story has to progress, and somehow the movie is all about Tina and her friends getting killed now, but it's like, holy shit, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so Tina leaves. Okay, and I will admit there is this pretty funny part where Loomis is like, Tina, you really should stay. Tina, please don't go. And Tina's literally like, she's like, man, I just, listen, sir, you're really creepy. I don't even know who you are. I don't know why you're touching me and asking me to stay. I don't know what all this is about. She seems to really have no idea that like a serial killer is back and is stalking people, and that Jamie went through an ordeal with the same serial killer. She seems oblivious to all of that. And she's like, you're so creepy, Loomis, with all this serial killer stuff and this boogeyman stuff you're pouring into this girl's head. I think it's really weird and it's bad for Jamie, and I think you're weird and I think I'm going to go. And Loomis is like, we really believe you're in danger, though. And she's like, who is we? You and a 9-year-old? She's 9. I'm going to go. So, like, at the same time, I guess, like, her behavior is kind of maybe a little logical, but, like, not really. But, yeah, so then these dunderhead cops are here, if they're from earlier, with a slide whistle. And they're like, and Loomis is like, hey, please follow Tina. Follow her around. Protect her. And so they're like, okay, sure. Tina, you want to ride to the Tower Barn party? And then they're just like, they drive away, these two cops. Like, seriously, we're following these two cops and Tina to this party. Why? Why? Why are they our protagonists now? But yeah, then we see Michael follow Tina to the Tower Barn party. From the clinic. Michael is at the clinic in the stolen Camaro. And he said, let me follow Tina. Why? Jamie's right there. Jamie is inside. Your goal is to kill Jamie. She's right there. But yeah, so in some really absurd events, Billy and Jamie, because Billy overhears the cops saying they're going to take Tina to the Tower Barn party. Billy, the stuttering kid, is like, hey, Jamie, I know where Tina's going to go. We have to go and protect her, right? And Tina's like, yeah, let's go. Why are you protecting anyone? Everyone should protect you. Like, why is Michael in pursuit of Tina? So yeah, then they go to this, then we show up and we're at the Tower Barn party. We're at the critical point in the movie. This is where it all starts, at this Tower Barn party full of teenagers that we don't care about or know. Okay, and we're at this party, and Tina's inside partying, and the cops are outside waiting for her. And literally the black Camaro rolls up, and the cops see the Camaro. They see a guy in a Michael Myers mask. And Michael Myers is obviously driving erratically and fast and insane because he's a deranged serial killer who shouldn't know how to drive. And the cops see him and they're like, is that going to be a problem? Should we investigate that? And then they literally are like, nah. Who are you cops? But then Tina and Spitz and Sammy come outside and they pull a prank on the cops where Tina comes running out and someone comes out dressed as Michael Myers and is about to kill Tina, and the cops are like, hey, wait, what are you doing? And they react quickly here, which doesn't make any sense. But it turns out that it's just Spitz dressed up as Michael Myers, and it's the most, irritating, annoying thing. Like, you want these characters to just be killed so badly, because they're so irritating. But yeah, our trio of annoying teens go into the barn, it's funny because this is called the Tower Barn Party, but they're all just partying in the house next to the barn. No one is in the barn. So our three characters go into this empty barn where they encounter a bunch of kittens, which is cool and random. But yeah, there's a bunch of cute kittens inside, which is nice. But yeah, you can actually see, because somehow all of our three characters get separated in the barn. And you can see shapes and figures skulking around because for some reason there's fog in the barn and there's moonlight shining through the rafters, but other than that it's totally dark. So it's actually pretty creepy and eerie of a setting, and this part is actually done, this stuff in the barn is actually done really well. But yeah, but then again, Tina is separated and you think she's being stalked by Michael in the barn, but then it turns out to just be Spitz and Sammy playing a prank on her again. So yet another prank within a minute and a half span. And it's hey, you guys really are doing this pranking stuff with everything that's going on, and you guys are such assholes. The most irredeemable characters. But yeah, so Tina leaves. And by the way, Tina at one point picks up a cat and is holding it, and she's like, what am I doing? I hate cats. And she puts the cat down, and I was like, oh, you just lost out. Any shred of likability you had, gone. How do you not like cats? But yeah, so Tina leaves the kids in the barn, Sammy and Spitz, to get murdered, basically. And they do, yeah. But not before Spitz plays yet another prank on Sammy. What is this script where there's 3 fake outs in a row? It pisses me off so much. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be getting so irate. Because again, I do like this movie, and we're about to get to the parts that I do really, really like. But why? Who wrote this script and read it and was just do we really need to have 3 pranks right in a row? Because literally, Sammy gets separated from Spitz, and then Spitz, still dressed as Michael Myers, comes back in and he pretends to stab her and she starts freaking out, but then he's like, no, baby, it's just me, Spitz. It's old Spitty. And it's hey, number one, Why are you pranking your girlfriend if you're trying to get laid in this barn right now? And number 2, Sammy, you just saw him in that Michael Myers outfit. Why would you then, like, assume that this Michael Myers is the real one when your boyfriend was wearing the same outfit and you have not seen Michael Myers in your entire life? But yeah, so like literally after this, yet a third prank, Spitz and Sammy start like, you know, getting busy doing the nasty. Which is again weird because I don't know like why they're showing a sex scene between these characters that we don't care about and aren't connected to. Like we were only loosely connected to Tina and even more loosely connected to these guys through Tina, and you're just gonna take Tina out of the equation. But again, we know a Michael Myers character is lurking around this area and might be in the barn, and the barn is kind of a creepy setting, so like there's a little tension. I'm in, okay, I'm in. And then boom, out of nowhere, Spitz, after undoing his overalls, is stabbed right in the back with a pitchfork, and the pitchfork goes all the way through him and through his chest and pops out the other side, and like Sammy is splattered with blood. So that's an awesome kill. And then Sammy, after putting up a brief fight with the pitchfork, Michael Myers like cuts her head off with a scythe, which is so cool. Like literally, it's like an old-timey Grim Reaper farming scythe that's giant, and he just like he swings it at her, and then we see it cut away, and then blood is just splattered all over the hay. So that's a pretty good kill. I like Michael Myers' use of a scythe, which is very interesting. You know, I get a little tired of the whole knife thing. All the time, and that's again why I really like Friday the 13th, because he uses a lot of different methods to kill people. So, but yeah, Tina re-enters the barn, and she finds a blood-stained kitten, which is beautiful symbolism for innocence being corrupted by Michael Myers. Except it's not. But yeah, she finds her 2 dead friends, and she freaks out, and then she goes out to the cops, and boom, cops are murdered. And then meanwhile, Jamie and Billy have finally arrived at the Tower Barn, but they're all again pursued by a Michael Myers who's back in the car driving around. And the Halloween theme starts to play as these kids are kind of being run down by Michael Myers in a car, which actually might be the first time you've heard the Halloween theme all movie. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, so Michael chases like well, and again, there's this weird part where Michael is chasing Tina down with the car, but hey, Jamie is right there. So Jamie and Billy are like, hey, Michael, wait, over here, come get us. Like, they have to like attract Michael's attention to save Tina. But like, why in the world is Michael going after Tina when Jamie's right there? Anyway, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so Michael, in pursuit of Jamie and Billy, through like they chase him into these woods. He hits Billy. Billy gets hit by the car, and Billy's basically like he's not dead. He survives, but he doesn't really come back in the rest of the movie. But before Michael can crash into Jamie, he hits a tree and the car explodes. Which I guess, like quick, I say the trivia for the end mostly. But a really cool bit of trivia is that, like, I guess Don Shanks, who plays Michael Myers, did that stunt himself. He did all of his own stunts, and he crashed into the tree, and it like literally was set on fire, and he almost like exploded because like he was like told to stay in the car until like the director said cut, but Dominique Othen and Gerard was so caught up in how awesome the car looked on fire that he didn't yell cut. So then like the stunt coordinator had to be like, Don, get out of there. And then like, Don Shanks had to like literally like jump out of the car before it exploded. So I mean that's pretty neat that he did that, but not neat that he almost died. But yeah, of course Michael Myers is unfazed by this, even though people like Jamie's like, oh thank God he's dead. I'm like, honey, he's not dead. So he gets up and he continues his pursuit of Jamie, and is about to drop the hammer on her, and like by that I mean stab her with a knife. But then Tina throws herself at Michael and tells Jamie to run, which is a little bit of redemption for this character. And like the one time in the whole movie I kind of like her, even though, it's literally the last 10 seconds she's alive. And it's really funny too, because like you can see that Michael Myers stabs Tina in like practically like he stabs her like really really far right on her chest to the point where it's like going into her armpit. And like literally afterwards she's like writhing on the ground and talking and like muttering like, Jamie, run, run, Jamie. And everyone in the world is watching this movie thinking, oh, that's not really a fatal wound, he's probably going to get her right now. But then you don't see it happen, and then later you just seen Tina being put in a body bag because she's dead. Even though like clearly that wasn't a killing wound, that's all she gets. And it's just like I'm like, who edited this movie and like allowed this to be the way? Like, it's a great sacrifice, but like, why would you show an obviously non-lethal wound, and try to convince people, oh no, it was lethal? I'm like, honey, she got stabbed in like the armpit shoulder. No one's dying from that, especially not in 2 minutes real time, where she's then carted away by the ambulance when they get there. But yeah, so then the kids are snatched up by Loomis and are like taken away, and the cops show up. Yeah, the cops show up and then take the kids away, and like take away Tina's dead body. Very sad. So Loomis is left there, and Loomis like wanders into the woods, and he knows Michael is there, and he starts like yelling out to Michael about how Michael, if he wants Jamie, must go to his childhood home if he wants to like satisfy his rage or be cured of it or whatever. So yeah, like Loomis for the rest of the movie keeps going on and on about Michael's rage, which is like a weird thing that like never heard about Michael's rage before. And I don't know why like Loomis is all of a sudden like, we can cure you, Michael. Control your rage. But yeah, so that basically sets the stage for like the final confrontation between these characters, which will happen at the Myers house. Again, really glad that we're, and like again, this is like kind of where the movie gets like really good from here like to the end, because again, it's like you're focusing on the characters that we care about, and it's in like a centralized location that we're familiar with. Like again, and I don't mean to nitpick so much, because I like from what I've read, like Dominique was like trying to do something different, and he didn't want to just do the same thing, I guess. And I know it sounds like that's my problem. It's just like, well, it's not like other Michael Myers movies. But it's just like, I think there's nothing wrong with trying new things. Like, I think Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends did that, and it did them both very well. But that's the thing. I think if it has to be done right. And I think if you're going to try to make a sequel but make it different, you just can't be completely different like this. Like, you can't have all these new locations and follow all these new characters while the old ones are still around but just like on the back burner. Like, the fact that like the middle of this movie barely has Jamie in it or Loomis is like detrimental to the movie. And it makes the movie bad, because like either you're going to do something like it's not different enough and it's not similar enough. You know what I mean? Like the fact that like we've built this world with these characters, Jamie and Loomis, and the fact that they're like there but not is just like so bizarre. But yeah, like I said, they go to the Myers house, and Loomis straight up like sets Jamie up at like Judith Myers' old mirror, combing her hair, like she was when Michael murdered her when he was a boy. And this is like bait for Michael. And like this is and the cops like set up in the surrounding bushes like covertly because they're gonna take down Michael. But Michael actually like attacks the clinic where Jamie was staying. Again, no idea how he has any idea about this clinic or where the clinic would be, or like, and like it seems like Michael strategically is attacking the clinic to take away the cops, but how does he know that all the cops are there because they're hidden? It's confusing. But Michael attacks the clinic, and all the cops except two leave to intercept. Like Ben Meeker is there at the Myers house, and he's like, all right, Loomis, we got this plan. And then he's like, oh shit, Michael Myers is at the clinic, we gotta run, and we're gonna take everybody, except we're gonna leave a cop upstairs with you and Jamie, and a cop outside, and you guys are all gonna go to the police station soon, because obviously Myers is just at the clinic, and this plan is totally blown to shit. He didn't listen to you. But like this allows Loomis then to orchestrate what he wants as like the final confrontation, because he threatens the cop Charlie and Jamie, and he keeps them there against their will, because like they're gonna go to the police station where they're gonna be safe, but Loomis is like, no, Michael, I know what Michael's doing. Michael's gonna come here, and we need to be here when he gets here if we really want to catch him. And lo and behold, Loomis is right. Michael arrives at super speed somehow, and murders the cop outside before confronting old Loomis on the stairwell in the house. And this is a good scene, I think. Loomis and Michael are there face to face. They're talking, kind of reminiscent of like Halloween 4 in that gas station, and like Halloween 2 at the end. Like, we don't get a lot of scenes between Michael and Loomis just straight up talking to each other. I mean, you get zero of that in like the original Halloween, and you only get it at the end in Halloween 2. And in the final confrontation in Halloween 4, Loomis isn't even there. But then Loomis is like talking to Michael, and he's trying to calm him down, because for some reason Loomis is now trying to like redeem Michael somehow and like cure him of his rage. And he's talking about how like, oh, literally like Jamie and like Jamie's love can stop the rage inside you. You need to like connect with your family members rather than like try to murder them. And it seems like it's working. It seems like Michael's kind of calming down until Loomis tries to take the knife away, and then Michael flips out and he slices Loomis across the chest and like throws him over a banister and like fucks him up. And then Michael is upstairs going after Jamie, and like the police officer Charlie, who has been really nice to Jamie this whole time, and he's been trying to protect her. He attempts to shoot Michael and shoots Michael a bunch of times, but Michael kills him, and like he like chokes him, and then he takes like a rope ladder that they were trying to use to escape, and he wraps it around this guy's neck, and he throws it out the window, and then like breaks the guy's neck and chokes him, which is a pretty awesome, dope kill. But then there's a whole chase scene where Jamie flees, and she takes refuge in a laundry chute before she actually falls down the chute into the basement. But then Michael like cuts around to the basement and at the end of the chute, and he starts like stabbing through the chute while Jamie attempts to climb back up the laundry chute. And then Michael like sticks himself up through the bottom of the laundry chute, just like his arm and his head, and he's like slashing wildly at her. And that's actually a pretty effective scene, very effectively shot, very like kind of tense and scary. But then Jamie manages to climb back up the chute, and then she takes refuge in the attic. But what does she find in the attic? She finds that Michael has like lit a bunch of candles and has like created like this weird like shrine type thing, kind of like Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2, when at the end like his mom's head. Sorry, I'm just gonna get some water. My mouth's dry. Oh, sorry, excuse me. And it's kind of like at the end of Halloween 1, where Michael is, like, he has the headstone in Annie's body in the bed. Like, Michael is, like, he likes to, like, set up stuff. He's, like, very theatric that way. Like, setting up these, like, scenes, and he's, like, very creative. But, yeah, in this one, there's, like, a bunch of candles lit, and there's, like, the dead body of the dog, and the dead body of Mike and Rachel are all up there, and Jamie like cries over seeing Rachel's dead body. But yeah, Michael then follows her to the attic, and he's actually like about to kill Jamie, but then like Jamie is like, "Uncle, no." And like her referring to Michael as her uncle like makes Michael like take pause, and she's like, "Before you kill me, please let me see under the mask." So then Michael like takes off his mask, and like Jamie looks upon his face, even though we can't really see his face because it's enclosed in shadow, but she can see, and then she can see that like Michael is crying, and she goes to like wipe away his tears, but oh no, you can't do that because that's like what Loomis did. And Michael at like the thought of being touched like flips out again, and and the chase re-ensues. Like, he tries to stab her. Also, she's in this little kid coffin. There's like this weird thing that Loomis mentions earlier about how Michael dug up a little kid's coffin to like put Jamie in, but it's like a throwaway line, like maybe like 20 minutes into the movie. But yeah, Loomis reappears, and you think, like Loomis grabs Jamie, and he's just like, "Here, you want her, come in here, Michael, you could have her." And he's like backing up, and Jamie's freaking out, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, has Loomis really like actually lost his mind? Is he really gonna like sacrifice Jamie to Michael?" But of course not. It's a trap, and Loomis has rigged a chain net to like fall from the like I don't know where he get this stuff or how he was able to set this up in like the 5 minutes since we've seen him, especially if he's like has this giant knife wound across his chest. But yeah, so like Michael like literally activates a tripwire, and then a metal net falls from the ceiling and like on top of him. And then like Loomis shoots him with 5 tranquilizer darts. No idea where Loomis had this trank gun stored. But then like and then after the trank darts, he beats him with a 2x4. He hits him with a 2x4 like 20 times, and he just screams, "Die, die, die," just over and over and over again. And like Michael is down bad. He's getting his ass beat. Like, this is actually like very cathartic for me, because to see like my man Loomis and like everyone's hero finally just like taking Michael down. Like literally in Halloween 2, Michael stabs him. In Halloween 4, like Michael throws him through a window. You know, Michael was the reason he got all burnt up. In this movie, Michael stabs him, throws him over a banister, but then Loomis gets his dude and just cooks Michael. Something fierce. But then Loomis, like in the middle of beating Michael with a board, collapses from what like seems like a heart attack, and Loomis collapses on top of like an unconscious Michael, and Michael is like his mask is like facing upward, like the eye holes are, and Loomis is like collapsed on top of him, like looking into Michael's eyes, like as he expires basically. And it's just like a very powerful image. And we of course find out that like Loomis survives this because he's in the next one. But like as far as like the director, I think, is concerned, he's like quoted as saying like, "Yeah, Loomis died at the end of mine. I don't care what else they do with him." And like Loomis wasn't like Pleasance said he was not going to return for any more. So like this was supposed to be like his death scene, and it actually is really quite powerful, I think. And yeah, like the whole scene with like Jamie and Michael taking off his mask and then Loomis, like that's all awesome stuff, man. Like that actually does really make this movie worth watching. And it definitely, like the rest of the movie definitely does not, because the rest of the movie is fucking stupid. Sorry. Because they go to the police station, and Michael's in a jail cell, and like Jamie and Ben Meeker are there. And Ben Meeker's like, "Yeah, this guy's gonna be in jail until he dies." And then Jamie's like, "Oh, he'll never die. I'm convinced of it. He's too evil." And I'm like, "What are you, Loomis?" But yeah, and then we see Jamie get taken out to a police car, and she's about to be like driven home. Hopefully, someone has let like Rachel, and Jamie's like parents know what's been happening. And they haven't heard, like, you know, they haven't heard from Rachel, their actual daughter, so like hopefully they're also concerned, but they're not mentioned. But yeah, so we see the Man in Black. Remember that guy? He's actually been pictured skulking around the entire film. I just didn't care to comment because like who cares? But yeah, so he enters the police station, and then suddenly there's a giant explosion, and there's a gunfire. And the cop waiting with Jamie's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna go in and see what's going on." And then oh, my cat just appeared. Hello. Hi. But yeah, sorry. And then Jamie's like, "Oh, what the heck's going on?" And Jamie walks in, and the police station is just like a bloodbath, and like all like it's like all destroyed, and Meeker and all the cops are dead, and Michael is gone. You know, that guy obviously, for whatever reason that they will explain in the next movie, busted Michael out. So it's like a cliffhanger ending, and Jamie is left sobbing to herself, "No, no, no," and then the movie's ends, and then the movie is end. The movie is over. So yeah, that I imagine was just tacked on to set up the next movie. And again, they had no idea what they were gonna do like with this at the time, so it's just so stupid. Um, but yeah, I think the best scene in this movie definitely is like the whole Myers house sequence. I think that's great. I think like literally the stuff that doesn't follow Tina is the best stuff. Like I think the stuff at the Myers house, and even when Rachel is like being stalked at her house in the beginning, is awesome. And I guess like the stuff in the barn is cool too. But like, yeah, I think the best sequence is definitely like, and I guess that makes sense. I mean, it's like the climax of the movie, so it should be the best, and it is. Best performance, I would say, is Donald Pleasance. Definitely. I mean, he's like they let him loose, but I think he like it makes sense for his character to do that, and I think he delivers like a powerful, emotional performance for sure. I would say that the best kill is probably, I don't know. There's some good ones in this movie actually, because like the officer Charles, where he gets like choked and like his neck broken when he gets twisted up in the when Michael twists him up in the like rope ladder and throws him out the window is good. Boyfriend Mike getting that like rake through his head is good, and then like the scythe is good, and then also the pitchfork. Like they're all the kills in this movie except for like Tina, I guess, is good. Um, what would I do to improve this movie? I would just make a better script. Truly, I think like Othen and Gerard is not a bad director. I think visually this movie has like some very very interesting good stuff going on, and I think he is getting like ideal performances from all of the actors involved. I just think that the script, which I guess like he wrote, so like I guess he takes some of the blame certainly, is so uneven, and like it was like obviously a lot of splicing and stuff was done, and like I said, like parts were cut, parts were added, characters parts were like shrunk or deleted and then like expanded upon, and I think all of those decisions were made in the poorest possible manner. And I think just the decisions in like writing the script and executing the script are truly bonkers and baffling and kind of awful. Um, yeah, like literally, I would utilize Rachel so much more. Like Rachel gets killed so early on, and I'll tell you what his justification is for that, like in a little bit. But like, it's just it doesn't work because I think we were supposed to like I think Tina was supposed to get killed early, and then we follow Rachel as Rachel goes to the tower party or the tower barn party, and then Rachel dies sacrificing herself for Jamie, and like I think that would have just been so much better because like first of all it would have made sense, like us following Tina and Michael Myers following Tina for so long makes zero sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Like Michael Myers has no idea who this girl is. Like that would have made sense for the revenge. If he's trying to get revenge on Rachel, he would have been stalking Rachel the whole time. So the fact that they like kind of, I think, when writing the script, like just switch those roles, it just like makes the script bad. Um, and like again, I think having Jamie like sidelined in the hospital is like incredibly bizarre, and having her not talk and not be just like not be in a lot of the movie is just a serious mistake. I just think like she demonstrated in part 4 that she is like a really really gifted actress, and to just like take her away in this one, it's just like seems like such a baffling thing to do. But again, and I know I'm sorry if it seems like I've been down on this movie because I really do like it. I like parts of it anyway. Because there is like a lot to like. I think Loomis is great. Like Loomis only gets better as these movies go on, and this is where he starts like his descent into total madness, and it's awesome to watch because he just does it. He just does it so well. He wears it well. And like again, there's some very chilling visuals and shots. And I think there is like some like attempted character stuff that I think like they tried to like humanize Michael and give him a soul in this one and like connect him to Jamie in like a more like interesting way, I guess. And I think that's really cool. And I think they did try, and I think it actually is kind of effective. And like I don't know, some of the like sequences in the barn and in the Myers house are kind of like spooky and chilling scenes. And like when Tina and Rachel are being stalked at the Carruthers house in the beginning, it's like really, it's like looks good. And there's some, like I said, some decent kills in this movie. And like I think Danielle Harris, like once she's talking and going, and like interacting with characters and actually speaking to them, is like really really awesome. So yeah, in short, I guess I would say that yeah, I won't lie to you. There are parts of this movie, long stretches, that are incredibly hard to get through. But the final act is like totally lights out, and I think there's some really really good stuff like interspersed in between, and it is still generally like well directed and like shot well. And there's still like some good actors doing good stuff. I don't think any of the acting is bad at all. And we love to see Loomis at his wits' end like this. And I just think if you love 4 and you love these characters and you like 6, that like it's just worth watching, I think. I know that's not a glowing recommendation per se, but I think at this point in my life that is what I can do for this movie. But yeah, I'll just if I may get into some like trivia stuff, I will. I don't know. I've said, if I may. There's no one here to tell me not to, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I hope you don't mind. I guess after filming for 2 weeks, Donald Pleasance gave his much bigger trailer to Danielle Harris once he left set, because Harris's mother had been complaining about the small size of her daughter's trailer, which is like I guess like nice of Donald Pleasance, but I guess like it does kind of take away from it because he was done shooting. So like, who else would get the trailer? The house that Michael returns to at the end when they recreate the hairbrushing scene is not the same house design as the Myers house in the first Halloween movie, which again kind of just speaks to like the production value of this movie and the rushed nature of it. The scene where Michael Myers drives a car while wearing a different kind of mask was initially scripted to have him wearing a Ronald Reagan mask. But they wanted to keep the movie like devoid of any political subtext, so that was scrapped. Donald Pleasance, I guess, was actually very vocal about his dissatisfaction with the story and with the way director Othen and Gerard was trying to get him to play Loomis as totally heavy and overbearing. Pleasance also felt that the success and shock of the ending of Halloween 4 was not being capitalized on, which I guess I can definitely agree with to a certain extent. I do have a quote here from Loomis, which I found in Taking Shape, that is that kind of goes along with this. If I can find it here. Sorry, a lot of flipping through pages in this book because I have the book right here in front of me. Oh, okay, so here we go. Donald Pleasance was interviewed by Fangoria, in which he said, I think they should have gone with the fact that the little girl is now totally evil. I was disappointed that we now discover she did not kill her mother at all. I think the story is a bit stupid. They're obviously taking the Halloween series in a different direction, and I just don't know if I'm thrilled with that direction. But I guess it doesn't matter or make any difference since I won't be around. So I guess literally Loomis did intend for this to be his last outing. Maybe as we go through Halloween 6, we'll be able to divulge what exactly made him come back. But yeah, he was not a fan of this one. The movie poster depicts Jamie Lloyd in her clown costume for Halloween 4, despite the fact that she wears a princess costume in this movie and never wears the clown costume. In an interview, Danielle Harris explained that she thought, of an idea where the way Halloween 4 ended, I thought I was going to be the killer, and I thought it would have been fun to have, fun to come back as the killer or like Michael's sidekick, but that was never realized. Okay, Don Shanks was originally actually set to wear the mask that George P. Wilbur had worn in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, in order to retain consistency between the movies, but the mask did not fit Shanks, so a new one was made. And like why you wouldn't just like recreate the exact one from 4 but just make it a bit bigger or smaller is lost on me, I guess. They said let's make it entirely new because we really don't actually care about consistency between the movies. When Donald Pleasance as Loomis is shouting and yelling to Michael in the woods, Donald Pleasance himself, I guess, requested that Don Shanks stand in the woods, like hidden by trees but still there, because Pleasance didn't want to shout it at nothing, which Shanks agreed to, and I guess everyone was fine with. So that's funny. Loomis seems like kind of a diva in these movies. K&B Effects had designed like grotesque facial makeup for Michael Myers unmasking towards the end of the film, because and I guess the producers told them to do so as an option, either showing Michael's badly scarred face, like because of Halloween 2, or just showing it kept in the dark. And I guess they just ended up not using the makeup and showing it encased in shadow. Donald Pleasance's scenes were shot in the first 2 weeks of filming, as he had another film commitment immediately after. The old hermit, I guess, from the opening scene was originally scripted as a younger man named Dr. Death, who had a fascination with the occult, and his shack was supposed to be filled with ancient runes and tablets, and he would actually like have brought Michael back to life after finding him, because I guess Michael Myers actually had been killed at the end of 4. And I guess the scene was filmed, and it is like this footage is out there, and can be seen partially in the documentary Inside Halloween 5, which was released in 2000. Unable to find like a small Victorian house like the Myers house in Halloween 1978, the filmmakers chose a bigger, more mansion-like house because they needed a house that could provide wide rooms, hallways, an attic, a basement, and a laundry chute for all the set pieces in the movie. When Jamie starts sensing Michael near Billy, Dr. Loomis is walking in the hallway, and the sign tattooed on Michael's wrist and the Man in Black's wrist is actually can be seen on the wall behind Dr. Loomis. And this is like when they're in the Myers house. Shanks did all of his own stunts, like I said earlier, and that includes like the swimming in 30-degree water at the beginning in the sequence where Michael crawls out of the exploded well. In the script, Rachel had Tina's role and Tina had Rachel's, with a vast change in character for Rachel. The script also had scenes in which the Myers house had the shape falling through the floor into a cage in the basement, and the end had Michael escaping with Sheriff Meeker finding an empty cell, and other drafts had like Meeker dying. So, all sound unfortunately much better than what ended up on screen. I guess it was really hard for Don Shanks to breathe in the mask because it had no ventilation. I guess Don Shanks and Danielle Harris actually became good friends over the course of filming, reportedly spending a lot of time together while offset, which is nice. I guess Robert Harders and Othen and Gerard initially pitched a script where Michael Myers, like lying in the ruins of like the blown up well, would like in the middle of a giant thunderstorm would be struck by lightning, and the storm like would like resurrect Michael and like bring him back to life, like just like in Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6. And I guess like Mustafa Akkad didn't necessarily like the story, but like liked the creativity of the men and offered them the job of writer and director, whereas Harders turned it down, but Othen and Gerard said yes. In this movie, Michael's mask is elongated with like longer and like slicker hair. Like it's like more combed and it's like longer, and it's really like it's like combed straight back, and it's not like unkept like it usually is. And the mask is like made of a thicker rubber and has like more teardrop shaped eye holes, which actually kind of makes him look like confused almost. The mask is held together by Velcro, making it appear like unkept and shoddy. And it has like an angrier, more confused expression than the two. But yeah, it had these like eyebrows that were like super thin, and like the eye shape, like again, like made him look confused, and it was just a very interesting design, and especially in comparison to the fourth one, which had like no distinguishing features whatsoever. Yeah, but it, like the last film's mask, people hate it. Like I'll read you in a bit. Like at the end, some like masks, some lists ranking the masks, just like we did with Halloween 2, and people really despised like these two masks. On the audio commentary for the DVD, it was actually revealed that Greg Nicotero, who like did like effects and stuff, was actually dating Wendy Kaplan, who was playing Tina. So that's interesting. Jeffrey Landman, who played Billy Hill, the little boy, kept his pirate costume. This is the first time Michael Myers is shown driving since the original Halloween. And like while it's obvious that he like drives the tow truck in Halloween 4, you never actually see him behind the wheel. George P. Wilbur, who had portrayed the shape in Halloween 4, was asked to return, but he refused. And then they cast Don Shanks. And Shanks had actually already done similar roles to this when he played killers in the first two Silent Night, Deadly Night films. So that's interesting. I've actually never seen those, but I've heard that they're pretty good. Lori Petty was the final contender for the role of Tina. Don Shanks is actually the only person of Native American ancestry to portray male. Or to portray male. To portray Michael. Ay. I'm losing it. Sorry, this episode is going a little long. Don Shanks was 6'1", which is actually like the fourth shortest person to play Michael Myers in Halloween history. Then below him is 6 foot Tony Moran, who played the unmasked Michael in the first Halloween. The second shortest is Nick Castle. And then Dick Warlock from Halloween 2 is the shortest at being 5'8.5". And like camera angles were had to be used with Shanks as well as Dick Warlock to make him appear taller. This is the only entry in the series to feature two characters named Michael, Tina's boyfriend and Michael Myers. I guess okay. Michael or Mustafa Akkad has said that one of his biggest regrets about this movie was killing off Rachel, and in retrospect he would have kept her alive. But that like he tries to rationalize it by saying that like, oh, she was killed in an attempt to show that no one, not even Rachel, was safe from Michael. Which like, hey, we been knew. Don Shanks actually also played the Man in Black in many of the scenes. He has said that like, yeah, the writers had no idea who this guy's identity was, which is hilarious. In the laundry chute scene, Jamie was originally stabbed in the leg, but the shot was cut from the film because the MPAA deemed it too disturbing. I guess Danielle Harris did keep the prosthetic leg that was used for this the scene. In the scene where Michael is ambushed by Dr. Loomis and beaten with the 2x4, Don Shanks was really hit with the plank, and he later admitted that one of the blows broke his nose. So I think that's insane that like they were like, yeah, Donald Pleasance, just go ahead and hit the guy with the board, it's fine. Just smash him with the board. I guess he ended up breaking his nose. I guess the ending of the film was not scripted, which is interesting, because I guess Loomis is just going off the cuff, even though I guess he's just screaming no, 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 no. But oh yeah, Rachel, I guess, was originally supposed to be stabbed in the throat with the scissors when she dies, but actress Ellie Cornell felt it was too gruesome an end for her character, so they changed it. And I guess it was changed in order to reflect the flashback where Jamie stabbed her mother in the chest with scissors in Halloween 4. This is the second Halloween film where Michael murders someone on October 30th, because most of the time the events just take place on October 31st. Okay, so that's all. That's some just some interesting trivia for you. But I got some here. Sorry, I probably just got a whole lot louder because I brought the mic closer, but I will take it back. I got some interesting trivia here from... I'll just read a few interesting facts from Taking Shape, again, because I do want you guys to just buy the book. Not that I'm in, like, cahoots with these authors, but I just think I would never, like, just... first of all, I don't know if I legally could just get away with reading from this book word for word the whole book, because that would be weird, and they'd be like, hey, don't do that, we want people to buy our book. But I do want you to buy the book because I think it is really worth having and reading. Also, we're already at like 2 hours and 5 minutes, so yeah, I guess Dwight Little, who directed Halloween 4, and Alan McElroy, who wrote it, were approached about coming back. And in an interview with Daily Dead, Dwight Little said that that they like asked him a few times. They actually like begged him to come back, but that like Little really felt that the ending to his film was perfect in such a way that he didn't really know how to go on from it. And even though he understood that they had to make a sequel because they, theirs had made money, so obviously they should go and make a sequel to make more money. Little was like satisfied with what he had done, and he like is quoted as saying like, yeah, I took my best shot and I'm really happy with it, and I was afraid of making a mistake, and the fact that it was moving forward meant we had done something right, so he was just like really satisfied with what he had done, which is cool. So they ended up going with Shem Bitterman for the script, who had written an unused draft of Halloween 4. And again, that was eventually reworked by Othen and Gerard and Michael Jacobs. And yeah, like again, one of the biggest changes in that script is that Jamie is not evil, but her foster mother is revealed to have survived the scissor attack. And just like Othen and Gerard recontextualize the event as an act of temporary madness, a side effect of the child's like brush with evil. And yeah, I mean, like Othen and Gerard and Jacobs then like made the choice to... Sorry, that's me touching the microphone in a weird way. They made the choice to kill off Rachel early, even though people were quite disappointed with this. Even though Michael Jacobs is quoted as saying that earlier drafts had Rachel being alive for most of the movie and just being like more rebellious and different than her previous characterization, where her like she's like a bad girl now and has like a low life boyfriend who probably just would have been Michael with the car. But they thought for some reason, I guess, that it was easier to just like have Tina do that. And then they also took a broad new approach to Loomis. And like in that he's like dark and desperate, like spiraling into madness, repeatedly accosting a terrified Jamie, yelling at her and shaking violently. And like by the end of the film, there's nothing he won't do to stop his former patient. Literally using Jamie as bait to lure Michael into the trap. Like the well-adjusted Loomis of John Carpenter's Halloween has long left the building. There's a written dialogue between Jamie and Loomis that was unused, but I think would have been incredibly effective. If they had used it, where Loomis says to Jamie, don't you remember last year? You stabbed her. You put on the mask of that thing and you stabbed her. I saw you at the top of the stairs. We both know that wasn't you. It was some part of the night, the evil of it. I am begging you to help me, Jamie. You are my only chance. Fine, then go on being frightened, living your life in terror. You've let him win without even a fight. There's something special between you and Michael. It's more than just blood, more of a sensing. I believe you can reach him in ways I never could. When he touched you, he gave you something, some key to his soul, to the love lost within it. Bring Michael to me, help me to cure him or kill him forever. Which, like, again, that is such an interesting and, like, awesome bit of dialogue that I would think would have really helped to help this plot, really helped to, like, explain the plot of this movie and kind of further things along. But I don't know, I couldn't possibly understand why they would have cut that out. But yeah, so then Taking Shape goes into some of like the plot holes that happened in this movie as a result of like the rush production. Some of the early mistakes being that Jamie is repeatedly referred to in the script and on film, being referred to as Rachel's stepsister, which of course is a mistake I've made a bunch on this episode. But again, it's a different thing to have that be in the final print of the movie. Yeah, Michael is unburned in this movie, actually, I guess. Which I didn't even realize, but yeah, no, to come to think about it, Michael's skin is completely free of burns. So yeah, like, even though in the Halloween 2 he was burned, like, to a crisp, in this movie he's totally rejuvenated and revitalized. Yeah, Jamie doesn't experience every murder. She only senses, like, Rachel's. And like, when Tina's getting stalked, she senses it, but like when he kills Mike and Spitz and Sammy, Jamie feels nothing. Like, how exactly did Michael know, like, when and where to pick up Tina for the Tower Farm? And like, why do Haddonfield police allow Michael to keep his mask on once arrested? No one thought to remove that when they brought him in. And yeah, like, I understand that, like, Othen and Gerard was trying to, like, inject Halloween 5 with all these new ideas, and like the boldest being that Michael has not lost his humanity. And like, Othen and Gerard is quoted as saying, "Oh, I may have broken some rules. Knowing myself, I tend to always break them, and I apologize to those who feel offended, but I stand behind my innovative choices," and Mr. Akkad did as well. But yeah, and then like there's that whole Dr. Death thing. Um, that was cut, and then it goes into how stuff with the coffin, where there was like that little, like, Loomis was like, yeah, Michael emptied out a little girl coffin for you, and then Jamie appears in it at the end, even though we had completely forgotten about it at that point. And I guess there was a scene where Ben, Meeker, and Loomis go to a cemetery, and they see like an empty grave and like a little girl's body dumped like on the side of the grave, because like Michael wanted the coffin for Jamie. And again, I think those would have been very effective visuals, and would have kind of been like connective tissue between that offhand comment that Loomis makes and then when Jamie shows up in the coffin at the end. So yeah, and then like there, all these like cut scenes and interesting like alternate endings and possibilities are all outlined in this incredible work. But yeah, and like I won't get into everything, but this like Dominique Othen and Gerard interview is incredible. He talks about how in the interview with Mustafa Akkad and like Shem Bitterman, he literally takes the Shem Bitterman script and like throws it in the trash. Um, and he gets into and like, again, Othen and Gerard seems like a very intelligent guy, and like the way he rationalizes things actually does kind of make sense. Because in the Bitterman script, I guess, there was a lot of gore, a lot of violence, and Othen and Gerard criticized that script to Mustafa Akkad in the initial interview, because he said, "Oh, hey, you're trying to like mix Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street with all this psychic connection stuff." and all like this blood and guts and like this like Hitchcock style, which is like akin to Halloween. And he's just like, you're trying to like create this like hodgepodge when you really should be sticking to like what makes Halloween great, which is like an air of mystery and like character work and like intensity, rather than just like violence and like psychic stuff. And I guess of course the psychic stuff ended up staying, but I do kind of see this point there. And I guess all of that, of course, very offended Shem Bitterman, who was literally the writer of the script and was right there in the room. Yeah, and he talks about how like they redesigned the mask to look like more almost demonic looking, and how Michael, like he wanted to humanize Michael and show his face, and he wanted to like kill off Loomis to give just like the general movie some gravitas. And he wanted the Michael like he made the mask like that to like convey more emotion. And he worked with Don Shanks a lot in the body movement to like indicate that like, oh, this guy isn't a robot, he's like a person. And yeah, okay, so yeah, he goes on to say that like the early killing of Rachel was done because we were at the cusp of the 90s, and he said he felt like Rachel was wonderful, like meat and potatoes, but that she belonged to the 80s. She's a sweet, nice girl, plain and unpredictable though, and too kind. And he wanted a character to lead us through the movie to be like more spicy, more unpredictable, to be dark hair, not like the blonde little princesses like in American movies. Something a little more acidic. Like Rachel was bananas, like bananas, meat and potatoes, soft, sweet, mushy, whereas Tina's acidic, like spicy, crunchy, a mix of salt and sweet. And he says that he like understands his audience and that like he loved the character of Rachel, but he wanted to make people uncomfortable. He wanted to shock people. He wanted people to say he wanted to tell people, hey, this is the new Halloween, beware, put your belt on because we're going for a ride. Which I like, again, like I think that's like almost admirable. I understand that you're trying to like bring something new to the franchise, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with how it was executed. And I think like Michael Jacobs said, I think if you would have you could have molded Rachel into that character that you wanted her to be, rather than, and still have her connected to the audience, rather than have this new character unconnected to the audience introduced and we just follow her the whole time. And he does make a good point, like because the interviewer asks, Tina was a polarizing replacement, some love her, others loathe her, what are your thoughts on this character and her journey? To which Lieutenant Gerard says, well, Tina is not easily lovable. One needs to get used to her, to see her in different situations, to observe, feel, and listen to her. Like Rachel is easy, Tina is surprising, unpleasant sometimes, but also charming, and pleasant at times. We don't know. She is wiser, and she is the one who is knowledgeable. She is the one who is freer. I believe that when Tina dies in the hands of Michael, one feels for her and is affectionate towards her. But yeah, I don't know if it was, I understand like the rationale and what he's saying, but I don't know if it was necessarily executed as poorly, or if the character of Tina has as much depth as he intended her to have necessarily. But yeah, again, like I think he's a very intelligent person. And I think he does like love Halloween, and he wanted to give people like an interesting experience and really kind of make his own mark on it. And he actually is quoted as saying that he's never seen Halloween 6, which I find very interesting. And that they're that he is interested in seeing how they incorporated the Man in Black character that he did somewhat introduce and create to a certain extent, and how it was played out. But yeah, I guess around this interview, I'm sorry, I'm going through too much of this, but this October marks, I guess, like when this interview was when they conducted this interview, it was around the 30th anniversary of Halloween 5, and like, you know, the interviewer, either Travis Mullins or Dustin McNeil, asked him, how do you react to like fan reception, or how do you react to this reception among your fans, that some people hate it, some people love it? And like Othen and Gerard does say that, like, oh, it's a very privileged spot to be, because it means the film and its story have touched the audience. It has provoked feelings and reactions, and for me, this is what matters. And that he understands that it was controversial for the more conservative audience, and like for the ones who like to be comfortable and like with what they receive, they want to receive the same quality of product over and over again. And some people are going to like it, some people are not. And he just says that he feels really privileged to have like received such reactions, and that the fact that one remembers the film at all is a privilege, and that he's very proud and happy about it, which I think is really, really sweet. And you know, that like comment kind of does make me challenge my own perceptions. Like, do I not like this movie as much as the other ones because it is so different? Or do I simply not like it because it is not as good? And that is a question you really do gotta ask yourself when you analyze and judge movies all within a similar series or within a similar genre. In this instance, I think it's definitely because the production was rushed and the script was utter garbage, and it is not just objectively not as good. And he might be just kind of saying that to like kind of maybe even confuse us, be like, oh, well, maybe you just like it because it's different. And it's like, no, I don't like it because it's different, and I don't like it because it's also just not that good, just poorly executed. But again, I of course have to say that there are a lot of things that I like about it, and I do respect his points of view and what he was trying to do. So yeah, again, Taking Shape, Developing Halloween from Script to Screen by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins, available on Amazon. Very good, very interesting read if you are interested in these movies. But yeah, so now I'll go, like, you know, I won't do this, you know, I'll just be quick about this, because I know that we're going to kind of talk about this kind of same stuff for all three of these movies, but just to go over, like, where Halloween 5 comes in terms of mask rankings. This, like I said earlier, Halloween 4 and Halloween 5, people hate this mask. It's one of the most loathed in the whole series. CinemaCraze.com rates the Halloween 5 mask dead last, and that's even behind like the Resurrection mask, the H2O 20 Years Later mask, and the Mask of Halloween 4. And of course, like Halloween and Halloween 2018, and actually Rob Zombie's Halloween, they all rank pretty consistently high. But Halloween 4 is pretty consistently very low. In an article from Stack.com, it's not dead last because Halloween Resurrection is dead last, and then Halloween H2O is right in front of it. But then, yeah, Halloween 5, The Curse of Michael Myers, is right there at ranked at number 9. And then Halloween 5, in an article from Collider, comes in number 9, which at this time there were only 9, so again, dead last. And then in an article from Screen Rant, Halloween 5 comes in, yes, at number 9, only beating out Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, in which, like, literally the mask is, like, falling apart. And even though, like, it was director Othen and Gerard's, like, vision, and he wanted to highlight Michael's humanity by giving the face more refined features and sharper eye holes to be more expressive, it just comes off as confused, and the latex doesn't fit very well. And I haven't even talked about the fact that the mask has these, like, horribly wide neck flaps And it's like it's not tucked in to like the collar of, and it just is like flopping about the whole time. So again, this mask is like consistently pretty low. People seem to like it better than part 4. But I personally don't like it more than part 4. If you want to know my mask rankings, once again, I'll tell them. I think, of course, 1 is my favorite, and then 2018 and Halloween Kills are like right up, and Halloween Ends, of course, are like right on it, because I think they just fundamentally recreated the Halloween 1 mask. Which, again, I don't know why that was so hard for all of these subsequent sequels to do, like between 78 and now, but they just had a rough time with it. Whereas David Gordon Green and like those guys really kind of hit the nail on the head and were able to do a really, really good job with their mask. But then, yeah, I think Halloween 2 for me comes right after, because it's the same mask as the original, just like more beat up and with different hair. And then for me, again, part 6 comes in at number 5 for me, because I think they got the expression right, but the hair is just a little too crazy. But then I think Halloween 5 comes in right after Halloween 4, because I think I like, even though the expression is confused, but it I don't know, it's more interesting than having no features at all, like the Halloween 4 mask. Like, I just don't think that's scary at all, and I think it just looks so unbelievably silly. But then, of course, 4 is definitely better than H2O and Resurrection, which have these massive eye holes and ridiculous looking hair. So now, in terms of Michael Myers actors, I think Don Shanks is one that I really like. I do find him to be very menacing, and I do find his mannerisms to be good. Like, not like a mannerism, oh, they're good. Like, I know I need to be more descriptive than that, but I do think like the way he walks and the way he holds the knife is like pretty. It's like the standard, I guess. Like, it's not as good as like Nick Castle or like James Jude Courtney, but I think he does it right, and I think he has a good body type. He's still a big guy, but not like chunky like the guy in part 6. I don't think people are a huge fan of Don Shanks, though. In the Screen Rant article, he ranks in at number 6 out of 9 of Michael actors. In an article from Collider, he comes in at number 7, only beating Chris Durand from H2O. In an article in Variety, he also comes in pretty low. So, yeah, but I think he does an admirable job. And I don't know, I just find it so interesting that like he seemed like a good sport on the set. Like, he was doing all of his own stunts. He was hanging out with Jamie, keeping her company. Loomis was like, "Hey, go stand in the forest," and he was like, "Yeah, it's okay, sure, whatever." They literally broke the dude's nose, and he was still like, "Okay, let me just patch this up and we can keep filming." So yeah, I think he did a pretty good job. And as for the movie rankings themselves, again, I think this one ranks super low. I'll put all the links to these articles in the show notes underneath. But in an article from Variety that ranks the Halloween movies generally, this Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers comes in at 11, only beating Halloween Resurrection. Like, so this movie is definitely like reviled by most, but it's definitely not as reviled as Halloween Resurrection, because people really despise that movie. And again, I love that one. We're definitely going to cover it on the show. So, those people be damned. Art is subjective. But yeah, and in another article from Collider, Halloween 5 comes in again pretty low. Let me listen to how long I'm scrolling. comes in pretty low at number 12. So again, only beating Resurrection. And this is an article that was updated 7 days ago, so it includes Halloween Kills, which again is very divisive. I don't even know what would happen if Halloween 5, The Curse of Michael Myers came out today. I think they would maybe the internet would assassinate all the actors involved. I don't even know how they would handle it. Okay, yeah, and then the rest of the articles, this BuzzFeed one does include Halloween Ends. So it has all the new trilogy as well as all the old ones. And again, Halloween 5 in this BuzzFeed one actually comes in at number 8, which is much higher than I initially thought in those other two articles, but still not great. Actually beating Halloween Ends, The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween, Rob Zombie's, both of them, and Resurrection. And again, I definitely personally think that this movie is a million times better than both Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. And also, I have to say, I don't like how Rob Zombie is getting big in his britches all of a sudden. Hey, maybe if you guys hate Halloween Ends, maybe my movies weren't so bad. Listen, Robert, your movies are awful. Don't get it twisted. Just because we don't like these movies and some people online are saying, oh, I like Rob Zombie's better, doesn't mean anything. Your movies are abysmally bad and joyless and terrible. I'm sure, maybe faithful to the characters, but again, it's like you've never met a real I'm sorry, I don't want to shit on Rob Zombie too much. But yeah, I just know that Rob Zombie's movies are objectively way worse than any other Halloween movie that has ever existed. Please, just know this. And I don't know why these articles are boistering that opinion. Don't pump that man's ego, please. I don't want him to make Halloween 3. I don't want him to remake Season of the Witch. Please don't do it. But yeah, and then lastly, in an article from Parade, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers comes in actually not dead last, but it comes in at number 12, barely beating Halloween Kills, which again, I don't necessarily agree with that, but that is what Samuel Murian, writing for Parade, says. So yeah, pretty much universally not liked by people, this movie is. But in reading these articles, I did notice that Halloween 2 is kind of getting a resurgence. People are rating that. When they're updating these articles and writing these new articles, they're definitely putting Halloween 2 a lot higher than they used to, which I really love to see. You know how much I love Halloween 2. But yeah, the same thing is happening for Rob Zombie's movies, and I don't appreciate that, don't care for that. I think we just need to give these movies, these Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, I think we need to give them 10 years, and then people will actually start to appreciate them, just like what has happened to Halloween 2 and then Halloween 3 before it. In one of those articles, I think the Parade one, Halloween 3 is ranked number 2, right behind Halloween 1978 is the best Halloween movie, which was certainly not what people said when it came out, and not what people said for the first 30 years that it existed. So let's get 10 years of separation from all of these movies, come back to them and really rank them then, everybody. Because I think we'll see. And I bet people will still hate Resurrection. That's fine. I understand that Resurrection is my baby. But yeah. Oh, and personally, again, I think Halloween 5 is at the bottom of my rankings. Because I don't even acknowledge the Rob Zombie movies in my own personal rankings. So the last one is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. But that's not to say I don't love it, because I do. Let me tell you, I would not devote 2.5 hours of this podcast to a movie that if I didn't like it. Believe you me. But again, yeah, that's all I got here today. And I do appreciate you listening for this incredibly long duration, as if you manage to stick it out. And again, we'll be coming back to you with the Halloween, the finale of our Thorn Trilogy, and the end to our Halloween specials for this year next week, when we cover Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, theatrical cut. And no guest, it'll be just me finishing it out. And then we'll be back come winter for our new season. So I appreciate you listening, and check the show notes if you want to take a look at any of those articles, or if you want to buy the book that I've told you to buy a million times, which I'm going to stop doing right now. And I swear I'm not going to even mention you buying the book next episode. But yeah, feel free. And again, I just thank you for your time on this fine day. And I hope you have a pleasant evening. All right. Bye-bye.